everyone, and welcome back to the Captain Logan Show. 'Tis I, Captain Logan, and joining me as always is my wonderful chat moderator and producer, DJ Martinez. Hello, DJ.
Hello, Mr. Logan.
What's happening, man?
Nothing over here.
You've got your subtle Marvel Comics shirt on again.
Subtle Marvel Comics.
Or is that
best way to be.
Is that less subtle than another one? Because I thought it was a lot smaller than that. Do you have a shirt where it's an even smaller 90s Marvel logo?
No, this is the only of this logo that I have. All the other ones are the modern one.
Okay.
That's
Because
why I
this
got
time
this,
it looked more like a sticker that you just slapped on a shirt.
It's like a patch type deal. I saw a white one like this the other day. I almost got it.
That's
these shirts are actually not subtle. They have giant like comic panels on the back.
Oh my! Did not see that coming.
That's pretty cool.
Did not see that
the
coming.
front is subtle. So
No, that's the opposite of
The
subtle.
back is loud and in charge.
Yeah.
business up front, party in the back.
Like, if there was a text bubble, it'd say "pow."
Now it's starting to look like my person a little bit. Next to me tonight, we've got Brandon Grimm. Hello,
Indeed
Brandon.
is I. You know, I will say this. I'm on the show so often. It always feels weird to me, and rightly so, that you should introduce DJ first, but I'm the one sitting next to you, so it always feels strange because I'm like, I know I'm not going to get the second credit, but I'm the one sitting here.
But you see, look, you don't have to be jealous of DJ.
Oh,
okay?
always jealous of
He's
DJ.
only that much cooler than
Oh
you.
man,
got
Brandon
hair,
Grimm's doing
man.
an Edward Norton already.
He's got the hair.
Well, the thing you have to remember, Brandon, is it would be a little bit weird if you were regularly modding sitting next to me.
Yes.
Like, if
also.
you were doing his job, I'd
Right.
have you in a different place in the
Yeah,
bunker.
no kidding,
You wouldn't
right?
be sitting right next to me.
You know, although one of these days I should bring over my laptop and a camera and see if we can't do that, just so that we have, you know, tired of you punching me every show, verbally and physically.
I'll just get a really long rod thing, you know? Like,
like
the Joker has an 89 that punches out the TV.
Yes,
Yeah.
that'd be hilarious. Honestly, if I'm on another camera and we just see it, you go off screen and it comes on screen at me.
And rounding out the Four Horsemen of the Geekpocalpyse, it's Spider Dan Torrey. Welcome back, Dan.
Spider Dan.
Hey.
I can't
How's it
see
going,
there's a
guys?
microphone in my way.
Okay, I'll just move it ever so slightly. No, we can't touch things or the camera will go out again.
And that, yes.
Still working on that. Anyway, welcome everybody. Thanks so much for being here. Reuniting the Four Horsemen. It's been a long time since we've done one of these shows, and I want to thank Dan and Brandon so much for making your schedules work out so you could both be here at the same time. It's super cool to see both of you. We have no real plan for the show tonight besides a lead-in topic that I would have done with or without you guys, because I know people are going
we were not needed necessarily.
because well, I'm sure you'll make it more interesting later on.
I try.
But, we've got some more news about the possible CW buyout, and I knew people were going to want me to talk about that today, and I want to thank Doolittle for bringing that to my attention over in the Superhero Rewind Discord. This only peripherally has anything to do with superhero movies, but I asked folks over there if there was anything I should talk about tonight. Doolittle brought that up, and apparently that just came up today. The big news is always on Thursdays, which is really lucky for me, unless I don't happen to see anything the couple hours before the show. And then for the rest of the show, we'll do an Ask Us Anything show. You guys can bring up anything you want to within reason about pop culture things or anything else, really, and you can direct things particularly just to me or to anybody in the panel or everybody in the panel if you want to make sure that your question, comment, concern, complaint gets discussed on the show. You can leave a super chat in any dollar amount and we will absolutely spend at least a couple minutes on it. And if look, I got a spiel. You just got to give me a minute.
Okay, I'll give you a minute.
And if you want to, if you don't want to do that, we want to thank everybody who ever has and ever will do that. You guys are wonderful. We sure appreciate you keeping the train rolling here on Geekvolution, supporting whatever it is we're doing here. But you can also leave a regular question in the comments at DJ Martinez. That's how he'll make sure to see that, or you can ping at the welder or at Guy in the or a guy in between Cap and Dan. He's right in between us. Anyway.
In-betweener.
Okay, so hey Brandon, what?
I was just gonna say I like how you qualified that with the questions within reason, because if this were an After Dark, it'd be without reason.
What I love is you opened the show with, I'm here so much, but then I'm doing like my regular spiel for the show, and you have to comment on things I say every single time, you've never heard them before.
Right, but I mean, we know this.
This is why you don't get second credit, Brandon.
You're right.
Hey, Dan, what's new with you, man? It's been a long time since we've had you on the channel.
Oh,
Relatively for you.
I've just been working at my job, and as far as geeky things go, I've been putting out content on my Conan channel. I started a new series on the John Carter of Barsoom books, and I've been collecting Conan comic books as far as geeky stuff goes. So, yeah.
Cool.
He's going over to Vince's side of geekdom.
Yeah, I got the first 15 issues of the original Marvel series now, of the Conan stuff. So I'm slowly working my way through that. And I did pick up a lot of the all of the Marvel John Carter series as well, all the 38 issues and the 3 annuals of that.
I would be really curious to look at that stuff. And I want to go back to the original John Carter novels, because I read some of that in college for a science fiction course, but it's been like 15 years.
Yeah, the John Carter Marvel stuff is really cool. Marv Wolfman and Claremont are the two main writers on it. Wolfman starts it, and then Claremont is the guy that stays on for most of it. And Gil Kane draws it for a while. He's like the main artist, but like there's a bunch of fill-ins from like Dave Cockrum, Frank Miller. There's a bunch of like all-star artists that do issues of that book, so it's really cool.
I haven't Miller ever worked on that. That's cool.
Yeah, he did a single issue fill-in. But it's just cool to see him like draw that stuff. It's in his sort of 70s Daredevil Marvel style. Like it's not like the stuff you get from like Dark Knight Returns and afterwards. So I prefer that style a little bit more anyway myself. I've looked at the
I love that stuff. Like
yeah,
it doesn't get appreciated enough. I really like that period of Miller.
Me too. It's my favorite because I'm a Daredevil person, and I love his run on Daredevil. So getting to see that kind of John Carter stuff visualized by him is really interesting.
That's one of those things that I've sold lots of times at flea markets on eBay, but never kept and read. And I wish you'd gotten into Conan just a few months before you did, because I've been looking at like late night TV history stuff recently. But Conan the O'Brien. But anyway, I wish you'd gotten into that just a few months earlier, because I could have really hooked you up, Dan. My dad had like a big collection that he ended up selling.
Oh, man.
That he was like, because he always brings me comics, and he was like, "Do you collect Conan?" And I'm like, "No, but I know somebody who does." And I messaged Vince all day long and could not get a hold of him. And so I was like, "Okay, I guess you missed the boat on this, Dad. I guess you're just gonna have to go ahead and sell it." And then Dan wasn't into it yet, and then he got into it later, and I was like, "Oh man, buddy, I could have really hooked you up with all the stuff you're trying to get now."
Yeah, no, I wish, because some of the issues have been a little expensive. Like I paid a pretty penny for the first one.
I'm sure.
And then there's like a few weird issues that are rare, like that have the first appearance of like Elric, who's another fantasy character that they like randomly had in the Conan book for like 2 issues that they had the licensing to. And like I had to pay, like, it wasn't a lot of money, but it was more money than the other issues. And I was like, I don't even care about Elric, but it's part of the Conan book, so I guess I gotta buy these.
Happens?
Yeah.
And I mean, it's worse when it's more recent scalping kind of nonsense, where you'll have a character that's introduced in an issue that years later no one will care about, but for right now it's like, oh, it's the first appearance of this character, and then everybody's trying to sell it for $25-30, and for at least a couple of years you can't get your hands on it like that for a reasonable normal person amount of money. Like that happened with a character in Venom, and during the Kate's run, I forget who, but like 3rd issue was like real expensive for a while. And I forget what else, but like it's more understandable when it's somebody that made any kind of an impact. But when it's we make such a big deal out of key issues, where it's like first appearance of anybody is going to cost more than it ought to probably.
Yeah, to this day I still don't have the JMS Spider-Man 9/11 issue. That's the one issue I'm missing of his run, because for whatever reason, even though they printed 1 million copies of that, it's expensive. Just because it's like the issue where Spider-Man cleans up after the Twin Towers fall, which, it's a good issue, but like,
yeah,
I don't know why it's so expensive. It's
I don't
weird.
know, like significant things that happen sometimes make a book really valuable, even though, like you said, there's too many of them. Why does Spawn #1 keep going up in value? Like,
Who knows?
why does Death of Superman? Why does Action 75 keep going up in value?
So what's your
They made
profit
1 million
on one?
copies. We've all got them.
They made 1 million copies, but you got to think like every year there's less and less of them.
I suppose so. But I also see them all the time, and they've been like cycling, and it doesn't feel that way.
Yeah, very true. But like I always keep that in mind, like when I'm collecting, buying some of the issues and stuff. It's like, like maybe this is kind of ridiculous, but it's like, yeah. Every year, like if I don't add it to my collection now, like obviously I for the Conan stuff, it's not ridiculous prices, which is good. But like sometimes I'll be like, I gotta pay like $10 for that issue. Like why? I'd rather pay like $3, like a normal comic book. But it's like every year that like they, you don't add it to your collection, it'll just go up in price, especially with the Silver Age and earlier stuff, because it's just paper doesn't last. So
at least you're collecting something that's not as popular, so like your top dollar book isn't like you said, insane. It's not like trying to collect Amazing or something right now, which you just gotta get real lucky to get.
I have the first issue of Daredevil and the first maybe I think 5 or 6. And those books were pretty expensive when I bought them, and I had to stop collecting after the TV show came out because everything just skyrocketed in price.
I still get lucky buying out collections, but you just don't always know what you're getting. So unless you're reselling, it makes no sense to do that, or you're just piling up boxes of things you don't care about.
Yeah, exactly.
But
so
anyway, let's go ahead and get into tonight's lead-in topic. We're 12 minutes into the show, and we basically already had one, because Dan and I haven't talked in a while, and we ended up just rambling about comic collecting. Let's talk now about what's going on with the CW. We discussed this earlier in the year when the announcement happened that Nexstar was looking to buy the CW, and I hadn't heard anything about it in quite a while, and now it looks like we're closer and closer to that buyout actually happening, or I should say partial buyout. We've gotten more information about this now, and so let me go ahead and just show you the article for this. I'll give you a little bit of information, and then we'll discuss, shall we? So this is from Deadline, and the title of the article is, "As Nexstar deal for control of the CW nears finish, ownership structure comes into focus." Nexstar Media Group's pursuit of majority control of the CW. See, I thought they were trying to buy it outright. It turns out that its majority control is nearing the finish line, according to people with knowledge of the pending transaction. So, like, a lot of different major outlets are reporting on this, but I still have to take things slightly with a grain of salt, I guess, when I see things like, according to people with knowledge of the pending transaction. I don't totally know what the source is.
That's a line, isn't it?
But it sounds...
hey, it's people.
It sounds like this is
all you
probably
need to
happening. Word of the deal first surfaced... And also this article is somewhat poorly written last January. Well, in January, because it was this year. But it has taken some time to iron out details. As currently structured, the deal will see Nexstar take a 75% stake in the broadcast network, and current partners Paramount Global and Warner Brothers Discovery each would take 12.5%. Sources indicated there is still some chance the tentative agreement could unravel, but if it stays on track, it could be formalized in the next few weeks. Nexstar, #1 owner of local TV stations in the U.S., as well as the owner of cable network News Nation and digital brands like The Hill, would make a logical new owner of the CW because it already has the most affiliates of the network. While both current parents are looking, as are all media companies, to streamline their operations and tighten up their balance sheets, the Nexstar scenario is an organic way to stanch some red ink. So I'm not going to read this entire article, but what we're learning from this is that Warner's and Paramount would still have a small percentage in the company, but Nexstar would have controlling interest and would be making all the major decisions. So the assumptions that we made earlier in the year seem to be correct, that if this happens, most, if not all, of CW's current programming would be canceled and dropped off, and they won't be making the kinds of things they used to. A lot of people are speculating, and this is just speculation at this point, that they're more likely to stop making scripted content to go for a more adult audience than the more adolescent audience that CW and before them the WB and to some degree UPN, but more the WB certainly.
I remember those days.
Before them were going after, and there's even some speculation that they could just go to yet another mainstream news network or something. But
great, just what we need.
Yeah, but I didn't fully understand why Nexstar was bidding on this and why they wanted it so bad, and I'm glad to know now
because they hate all the shows.
Because it makes more sense if they own most of the affiliates that the CW is already connected to. It's just a good fit. They're basically already connected to that network, so now they can just decide what is being put out for it. But it's all legacy media. It's they're not interested in the streaming thing. They're all about just regular broadcast television, and so the CW would no longer be the CW, for better or worse. Some people I've heard say, oh no, this is the end of superhero television, and I'm like, what are you talking about? First of all, we have plenty of that in other places, but second of all, it was already looking like the beginning of the end of the Arrowverse anyway. I don't understand why they greenlit and are still putting out that Gotham Knights show. That whole thing is making no sense to me, and I think we'll see a single season of that. So probably whatever they've filmed is what will come out for that show, which is fine, because 9 people will watch that. But I think everything that that DC is likely to put out on television after this will just go to HBO Max anyway. So this just seems like a logical conclusion to the CW, right? It was very much on its way out. At some point, it was going to completely fall apart. Somebody was going to buy it up. What's really funny, and I didn't get to this part in the article, what's really funny is they're not even having to put any money up front because the CW is $100 million in debt, so Nexstar is just going to accrue all of that debt, and now that'll be on them, so they don't actually have to buy them. Basically, they don't even have to pay anything. They're taking controlling interest for $0 up front. It's amazing.
Wow.
So anyway, that's the news on that.
I haven't heard the term legacy media before. You just said it, and am I really that old that TV is now the legacy? The legacy setup, it's just all newfangled streaming and things like that. I don't know if I like that.
Yeah, I mean, it's broadcast TV is definitely dying.
Yeah.
I mean, CW is a dying network and a dying medium.
Well,
considered it.
But the thing you have to understand about the CW too, Brandon, is they would have already been dead if it weren't for the deal they had with Netflix for so many years. They didn't make any money on television. You look at all of their numbers through pretty much their entire run, but especially during the Netflix days, and they couldn't have kept shows on TV with the numbers that they had, with the ratings that they had.
Sure.
It was all about how much money Netflix was paying them to stream their stuff afterwards. That deal fell apart in 2019. And
I didn't even know that was ever a thing, because I stopped watching the CW back when it was still UPN and WB.
yeah.
I haven't watched it in that long.
Yeah, I haven't watched anything on the CW since season 2 of The Flash, halfway through when it got terrible.
Yep.
So, yeah. They've been irrelevant to me for how many years now? I can't even count.
Yeah, well, and I haven't
crazy.
actively been keeping up with anything for them for years either, but we did so much material with them in the early days of the Arrowverse that when major news comes out about them, people still want me to talk about it. So, so that's why I am Dan. Okay,
At least you have reasons. If you're gonna watch it, you better have a reason.
Well, I like to watch. I like to know what's happening with things I used to care about. So I mean, like, you know, if this thing is gonna crash and burn, I gotta watch it happen. You know,
yeah.
I gotta see what. It's kind of crazy that it's taken this long. I mean, people have wondered for years how that network has limped along with some of the ratings numbers they've had, and how shows would keep getting renewed, like Batwoman, which was getting like less than 1 million. People watching it on a weekly basis, like almost all the way through its run past the pilot.
How do you continue?
Because it was terrible.
How do you continue to act in a show that gets no ratings?
Well, the answer to that, with that show in particular, is that you don't. Their lead left after the first season.
Oh.
For various reasons. We're catching Brandon up here.
That's hilarious.
Does this mean that the terrible Gotham Knights show is not going to be unleashed on us anymore?
No, I think it still will, because the pilot we got, and that's why I said, Dan, I think whatever they've shot is what we'll see, but they'll still put it out. Like, it might not. So a couple different things could happen with that and other things that they've got in the pipeline right now, or that they've shot, like more seasons of. Or more episodes for a season. It's possible that Nexstar lets things run their course for a year or something. I guess I could kind of see that, where it's like they'll remain the CW for a little while they're getting that stuff out. And I don't know if they'll still be called that, by the way. I mean, I could see any number of things happening. But what I think is just as likely to happen would be shows like that just get dumped on HBO Max, like what happened with Naomi, which was canceled before it came out. And I don't think it even aired. I think they had it shot and then they canceled it. Maybe it did. I'm not sure, but it got canceled right away. So
I'm so shocked that a superhero show called Naomi didn't last.
I think
the Gotham
about
Knights show,
watching it.
The Gotham Knights show looks like
just the same.
It looks like the product of a dystopian future where we can't stop making superhero things, and this is like we've scraped beyond the bottom of the barrel, there's a 6-foot hole in the ground. It's crazy how it's just all these nobody characters and a made-up son of Bruce Wayne. It looks like the cheapest thing in the world. I can't believe it was actually made it to be filmed. It's nuts.
And I mean, they already had stuff that kind of felt that way, but it's you didn't think we could sink any lower, and then we did. What's bizarre about something like Gotham Knights is we're canceling a lot of our DC shows, and then we'll go, okay, well, it's not going to be in the same universe, but I guess that's still all we're going to make is more random DC shows. And I've talked about this before, but you just canceled Batwoman. And then the same week, I think, Dan, that Batwoman's cancellation was announced, that show was announced to be happening. And then, a couple weeks after that, we already had a trailer. After we even found out about it in the first place. Yeah, it was a really bizarre choice.
It would be great if, Warner Brothers just doesn't let them use any of their characters anymore. Yeah. And whatever DC TV projects just become all of the HBO stuff, like what Reeves is doing in his Batman universe and what Gunn is doing in his Suicide Squad corner of the movie universe. Just do that stuff. I have no desire to watch any of these CW shows. I mean, they seem to even run their course of having a steady viewership at this point. There's no point in keeping them going. I heard even that new Superman show that's on HBO Max, it has definitively established now that it's not in that continuity anymore. They've done things that contradict the canon of it, so they're kind of going their own way, which is probably for the best, because I've heard that show is surprisingly good.
It's great.
For what
or
it
at
is.
Least first season is. I've not watched into 2 yet, but I like that show a lot. And the nice thing about that from the beginning is that they took advantage of the Crisis situation. So that happens pretty much immediately after Crisis on Infinite Earths, and they're like, well, we've already got this big excuse to retcon anything we want to. So I'm with you. I bet, because I hadn't heard that, but I'm not surprised if it's true. I bet they probably just straight up contradict things that didn't even change with Crisis, but who could care?
Yeah, exactly. I saw a headline about it, so I don't know the exact details, but apparently that has happened, unless what I saw was not correct. which is also possible.
But yeah, that's
don't
an exception. But the thing you gotta remember with Superman and Lois is that was essentially an HBO Max show that was just airing on the CW first. Like, it had a lot more money than the CW shows. The writers were different. Like, HBO Max, I think, put the money up for it. Like they were backing it. So if the CW didn't exist, that show would have still happened, and it would have just been on HBO Max in the first place. It wouldn't have aired on the CW first. And then I've heard Stargirl stayed decent, so that might also be an exception that continues to stay on HBO Max.
Isn't that Superman show a spin-off of Supergirl, though?
Only sorta, kinda, in that it's that same actor, and it's loosely more or less in the same continuity. And like, they bring back Diggle once in the first season and all of that. But what I mean is, Dan, in the way it's produced, it's not produced like a CW show. Like, HBO Max is making it essentially.
I see.
And so
yeah, I mean,
I knew that wouldn't affect the trajectory of that show if the CW was dismantled, because those episodes were going to Max pretty quickly. Most people were just watching it there. Like, they were basically just using the CW to air it someplace so they could kind of make commercials for HBO Max, it seemed like. Which is smart.
Yeah. I mean,
I wish Star Trek had done that.
Yeah.
It's really stupid to not have Star Trek shows on television. They're only streaming. Like, why in the world didn't they do that with Paramount Plus? But
Paramount's way of advertising is every time I would finish an episode of the Halo show, it would randomly start playing the Picard first episode if I didn't click off of it fast enough, and I'd be like, "No, go away!"
Yeah.
It was scary.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. Couldn't you at least try to make Dan watch good Star Trek?
No, they gotta push the new product. That's what they gotta do.
Just make Dan watch random episodes of TNG. Like, come on, Paramount Plus. That's how you do it. That's how you get, because the only way to get people that don't know the character of Picard to like Picard enough to watch Picard is not to force you to watch Picard.
Right.
It's to give you
I don't
TNG.
know.
That's what it should be.
What I saw of Crypt Keeper Patrick Stewart playing cards with Data seemed pretty interesting in that first scene.
Oh God.
Spoiler alert.
But I didn't.
It ain't. Anyway,
I still have only ever seen the first episode, and I think that's where it'll stay for a while.
It should. It should. Well, anyway.
I want to kill myself.
DJ, do you have any thoughts about the plausible end demise of the CW, or evolving into something none of us would care at all about?
No, that's kind of why I was letting Dan and Brandon take this one, and I've also been busy in the chat. The super chats are flying in, so
we'll go ahead and start getting to those here pretty soon. Dan, real quick, any final thoughts about this whole thing, or Brandon?
Ding dong, the witch is dead. That's my final thoughts.
I was gonna say, when the CW gets to the pearly gates and he asks, "Was I a good network?" No, you were not.
Now that the CW, the Arrowverse is probably ending, I'm finding myself a little more intrigued to go back and sample some of the stuff that I missed that I know is probably not any good, but just for the knowledge of seeing where they went with some of that stuff. Like, I'm kind of morbidly curious, because the couple of episodes that I binged with Austin a few months ago for Legends were truly awful, stunningly bad, and I already didn't like that show. Stunningly, I don't know. I'm more curious. It's somehow it's less depressing when it's over. Do you ever have that with things? When a show gets canceled that looked terrible, gets canceled after one season, but you know it's not gonna be, because that's why I said that with Naomi, Dan, where I'm like, well, it's not a commitment. I know they're not making any more of it. I could waste, a couple of days or a week and watch this really horrible show so I can come on the channel and just tell everybody how bad it is. What if it's half decent? I don't know. It probably isn't, but what if it is?
So what are they doing? Just casting things to the wind and hoping they stick? Because, you make a season of a show and then it gets canceled. You had to have some inkling that it was going to get canceled. well before it got canceled.
Some of it is just that, like, having to have content out, because again, your strategy isn't for broadcast, your strategy is for streaming. But it was a long time before anybody understood that with the CW. So when you go back and look at their model and the way they were just shoving shows out and keeping them on forever, you're like, oh, okay, you're doing exactly what Disney and HBO Max are doing right now. But it didn't make sense when you thought it was just for broadcast. Now it makes perfect sense.
I remember when you kept, every time you told me about the latest Gotham episode you watched and how crazy it got.
Yep.
Like, I watched vicariously because of Netflix. That's how I got my CW, vicariously.
Gotham's not CW, but yes. All right, moving right along.
I thought it was. Was it Fox?
No, that was a Fox show, but like that show was so. If you knew how obscenely violent that show was, you would never think it was on the CW.
Okay.
But anyway, moving right along, and how much weird I don't know, like BDSM imagery was in that show and stuff. It was really strange. Anyway, moving right along. It was. I don't know what else to call it.
Can I ask a quick question? Something other than CW. Have any of you heard of this show that I just found out about called The Boys? The superhero show.
The Boys is awesome.
I watched an episode. I think it was like second season or something. It looked freaking cool. I want to see it.
I need to give Brandon like a list of things not to bring up on the show when we do shows.
That really got me. Him saying, "Have any of you guys heard about this show called The Boys?" Like the three of us. I've never heard of it. That was fun.
I reviewed the pilot. It's really good. I lost interest in it after 3 or 4 episodes. But yeah,
it's the best show on TV right now. I think it's amazing.
It probably is, or it's probably up there. But I lost interest in it very quickly for various reasons. Anyway, let's keep going.
TH1 gave us a $5 super chat.
Yeah.
He says, "My girlfriend hasn't ever seen Star Wars. What order do you suggest I show her them in? Have you caught up on the Orville? You are awesome."
Okay, so the answer to that question for me is almost always, maybe there's an exception somewhere. I guess the exception would be with things that I wouldn't, where like I would avoid certain things, but by and large with Star Wars and with anything, it's always production order. It really bugs me when people go, oh, there are prequels, let's watch them first, because prequels are almost always informed too much by what was made before them and are very much intended for better or worse for people that are already familiar with the material. The answer is almost never go back to like chronologically what came first. Like, it really bugs me that Marvel on Disney has like a whole playlist of like chronological order, and like and I mean, like, if you want to watch it that way, fine. Like, if you've already seen all of it, I think it's really weird to do that the first time. My father-in-law did that like around when one of the major movies was coming out. I think it wasn't Endgame, it was after that, I forget. Maybe it was I don't remember which movie, but he was like, some of the stuff I missed, and there's another one of these coming out, so I'm gonna watch all of it in chronological order. I don't know why my brain exploded. I can't even have that. It just really bothers me.
Cap
so
went
anyway,
off on him.
I did. I totally know I did. He'd already finished it. If he was about to do it, I would have pleaded him not to do that. Like, that's got you watching Captain Marvel really early. I can't deal with that. I can't have it.
Yeah, the New Apes trilogy is amazing. Watch the original first. Definitely.
Yeah, I'd never start with the prequels, because if you start with the prequels, they will get the impression that Star Wars is awful. And you don't want to give them that impression. Yeah. So show them the movies that are good first. And then if they're interested enough to sit through terrible movies for the next 6, then show them those.
Well, show them the reason
absolutely
for the franchise. Like, you got to start with those original 3.
But also just let people develop their own opinions. It's maybe, I don't know, it's a little harder to do that if you start with prequels, because like Dan said, you might not even get to the original movies.
Yeah, lose interest pretty fast.
Like, if someone's first exposure to Star Wars is The Phantom Menace, like, that's like, you know what I mean? Like, no one's gonna be impressed.
I don't know how you'd. I mean, maybe if you're a kid, because I know that there were kids that grew up on those and that was the first thing they saw. But if you're, I don't know, if if your sensibilities, your brain is already fully formed, you're probably not going to have characters that you resonate with, and so there might be some visuals that you're like, that was neat, but I don't know if it's going to make you want to keep going. And then there's plenty of other things that could turn you off by the time you get to Attack of the Clones, for all the reasons I rambled on about for 2.5 hours a few weeks ago when I did the rewind on that. But that was fun. I had a whole section, Dan, where I just asked questions about things that didn't make sense for about 40 minutes. It was just a laundry list of questions.
I mean, I'm not surprised. Attack of the Clones is... I mean, it's not as bad as Last Jedi and Rise of Skywalker, but it's real bad.
It's like bad in different ways. I don't even know how to compare them.
Yes.
Absolutely. So yeah, the only way I could answer that any further would be to tell you, and I won't get into this, but would be like, personally, which ones I just wouldn't even bother with. You know what I mean? And it's difficult to say, like, skip all the bad ones, because if I watched the original trilogy for the first time now and knew that there was all this other material, I would be too curious to not look at it, which is exactly what happened. You know, like, as I was growing up, like, it didn't matter how bad they were, I was too curious to know. Like,
yeah,
I was invested enough in that universe, even being kind of a casual Star Wars fan.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, as a non-Star Wars fan, like, at all, I would just say watch Star Wars and then Empire Strikes Back and then stop. Those are the two I liked, and I'm done.
I would even go and I wouldn't actually suggest a person do this, Dan, but I would even go as far as to say, like, if you have a hard time getting into Star Wars, like, maybe you saw and I know this wasn't the question, but, like, maybe you saw the first one at some point and it just, you know, didn't blow your mind, or, like, you don't remember if you saw it or whatever. The way most people get obsessed with Star Wars is Empire, and I think that movie is actually weirdly watchable without the original. Not that you should skip it. I'm just saying Empire does stand alone really, really well. Like, it's a movie and can be watched by itself.
I'm not so sure. I don't think the opening of the movie makes much sense if you haven't seen the first one.
Well, that might be true.
Like Obi-Wan Kenobi's ghost shows up on Hoth. Who's this guy? You know what I mean?
Yeah, but it's not that important. I don't know. I'm just saying things. I don't know. Go ahead.
All right. $4.99 from Bella Ack. I missed you rascals. It's been a minute. Show me y'all's go-to dance move to impress a girl you want to talk to.
Oh,
While I'm sitting in the chair?
Yeah, my response would be, don't dance and you have maybe a shot.
Oh, yeah, I might agree with that. I don't have a dance move. Any dance move I ever do, in front of somebody, they tell me to stop.
Hey, but at least they're talking to you.
Well,
any
okay.
press is good press, right?
Silver linings? Question mark.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I can't think of any sitting dance moves that I would be able to impress anyone with, let alone a woman I was attracted to. So, I'm sorry, I can't oblige.
I mean,
dancing utilizes the feet, you know, quite a bit.
Yeah, I've never tried to attract a woman with dancing. Sorry.
the ritual mating dance.
Moving right along.
Lightning City gives us $1.99. Thoughts on
up?
Joker being a musical?
I can dig it if it's good.
Yeah, my response to that, and it's weird that we haven't really talked about this yet, because it's been news for a couple of weeks. What really annoys me real quick about this is we had a lead-in topic about Joker 2 being announced, and then the very next day we got details. So I did like 10 minutes on this, and then the very next day we knew things. Like, when we first talked about it, we didn't know about the musical thing. We didn't know about the...
Wow, I just learned this.
What was that?
No, I just learned this. I didn't even know about this.
We didn't know that it was going to be Lady Gaga. And I heard about the Gaga thing before the musical part. And I was like, well, I mean, I've heard she's an okay actress. Like, that might be really, really interesting. And there's like, oh, they're going to make it a musical. Oh, that's what they got her. Okay. I have a real wait-and-see attitude about this whole thing. They made a real big deal out of not rushing into anything, which I have a lot of respect for. I really appreciate that Warner's didn't seem to, like, you know, make them try to force something out real quick. And it seems like the creators there would probably have just, like, walked and let somebody else do it if they had done that. So I think in a weird way they almost might have kind of had Warner's over a barrel, where it was like, well, we can pick somebody else or we can let these guys take their time. And that seems to be what they're doing. So until we know different, I'm going to make the assumption that they're excited and think that they have a story to tell, and that's why they're there. So yeah, that seems real counterintuitive and kind of strange, but I've liked wacky, strange musical choices before. I'm a huge not Doctor Horrible. I'm a huge fan of Return of Captain Invincible, which is a really bizarre superhero musical, and kind of has no business being a musical, and that's why it's wonderful. But yeah, so I have a real wait-and-see attitude about it. I'm not jumping the gun and going, oh god, that sounds like the worst thing. I don't know what they're doing with it. So
I'm a real fan of musicals, so it's
yeah,
up my
that's
alley.
interesting. That's the first thing I've heard about it that perked me up a little bit. Maybe interested in checking it out.
Yeah, I really liked the first Joker movie. I don't really like musicals, so my interest went from not being entirely interested to not interested at all, but maybe they'll surprise me. I guess we'll see.
yeah.
I was hoping that the second movie would kind of like be about Joker becoming like the crime boss, clown prince of crime character that we know from the comic books, because he's not like, he's a crazy person that wears clown makeup at the end of the first movie, but he's not really the Joker.
Yeah.
Like he's not a supervillain yet. Jumping immediately into Harley Quinn, I'm like, like we're gonna do Harley Quinn again? Like Harley Quinn's in everything. Yeah. She has a TV show. She's in the Suicide Squad movie. She's had her own emancipation film or whatever that was. You know, like Harley Quinn again.
We'll talk about
I don't know.
But
I would have rather seen something else, but I guess we'll see. If it's good, then I will probably enjoy it. But I'm not that interested in it, to be honest.
I'd be especially interested in it if it was sort of from the standpoint of Joker himself and through his crazy lens of how he views the world.
I mean, that's what the first movie is already.
No, I know, but like if they keep with that, and that's like it's him just seeing everything in musical, if it kind of goes back and forth a little bit.
Yeah, although I don't know why all of a sudden you would see the world as a musical when you didn't in the first
I don't know
place.
either, but I mean, to me, it would be an interesting plot point.
Although that makes me think that maybe what they're doing with it is it's much more from her perspective, and she sees things through a musical lens.
Okay.
I guess that's plausible. But no, Dan,
I
I'm
guess
with
the
you.
title of the movie, I forget what it exactly is, but it's a series of French words, and it means two people that share a mutual madness with each other.
Right.
So I assume that like these they're gonna have like the distortions of reality that Joker has in the first movie, and someone will finally come into that and be able to experience it with him, and they'll be having a mutual musical misadventure of illusion. And delusions of grandeur and all that. So, yeah, I mean, that could be interesting, but
I mean, a dark.
I just wish
dark
it wasn't a musical.
I'm really down for a dark musical.
I'm with you, though, that I am having a harder time getting excited about Harley Quinn again. The musical thing is just so off the beaten path. I'm fascinated to see what that ends up being. And like I keep kind of almost forgetting about the Harley Quinn thing, because like her name like Gaga came up and then everybody assumed it would be that, and like that is the assumption. I'm sure that's what it'll be, but I don't think like they've ever come out and said for sure that's what it is. So I keep forgetting that this is probably a Harley Quinn movie.
Yeah. Who knows? But I guess we'll see.
All right, go ahead, DJ.
All right, from that's impossible to read. GJJI. For everyone, what sequels would you like to see for each Spider-Man actors?
None of them.
So
Stop.
we all have to.
Yeah, you're kind of barking up the wrong tree there, I think. Sad to say.
Well, I mean, it's what we want to see. It doesn't have to be realistic or like what they're gonna do.
I want the superhero genre to end, so I don't want to see any of them myself. But
DJ, I'll let you feel this first, man.
Yeah, sure. I mean, we talked about this before. This came up before. Someone asked us specifically about Garfield. And I think what we said, Cap, I think both of us agreed that we would have liked to have seen him do like a later on 30s age Spider-Man and do one of the darker stories like Kraven's Last Hunt. Obviously, this is ideal, like would never happen, but if it was good, that's what I would like to see. I would like to see him play an older, more mature Spider-Man.
Yeah, I wasn't sure where to go with the question because I didn't know if he meant like now after No Way Home or if he meant like if those original series had gotten more movies.
Yeah, I don't know. He doesn't. I don't know if that's what he means. Like, and realistically, well, he says, "What sequels would you like to see?" So that's why I just took it like, because I'm not excited for like what they want or not what the fans want for Andrew Garfield. Like they want him to be in the Venomverse. But yeah, like I said, I don't really want him to come back to the Spider-Man movies now. But if things happened differently, I would have liked to see him play an older Spider-Man.
Yeah, I kind of feel like Dan about it to some degree. Not as far as like the whole superhero genre should end, but just I don't care about Spider-Man right now. Like I liked that movie more than Dan did, but I didn't like the way it ended at all. And I don't. It would be very strange if they did try to move forward with any of those actors because it kind of feels like they get sent back to universes that would just sort of like cease to be what they were because I'm pretty sure it affects the knowledge of everybody, like knowing who Peter Parker is in all the different universes. If I'm wrong about that, then I guess you could go back to any of them and do whatever you wanted to, but it seemed like they must have all gone back and had their lives ruined by the events of No Way Home.
You've already thought about it more than the screenwriters.
No, that's absolutely true. I just walked out of the theater going like, okay, so it really was just one big cameo. We're not supposed to think at all about what happens to those characters when they go back to their respective universes, and that really kind of bugged me. But anyway.
Yeah, I'm actually surprised. It must have just been they didn't want to put any effort into it at all. But it seems like such a thing that they would do to do like a scene with each of them. Like, we get a scene with Mary Jane, and he's like all happy, and they're like hugging, and then we get a scene with Andrew going. But they just didn't want to pay those actors. They didn't want to do any locations. They just wanted to bring them in.
I was so disappointed that we didn't go to any other universe for even a minute to establish the status quos at the end, because like they just kind of disappear, and I'm like, okay, you guys seem like barely characters in this movie. By the end, anyway.
Yeah, I don't even know what we would...
So that makes it very difficult for me to use my imagination moving forward, because I feel like you have characters that are kind of not real now, is really what it feels like to me.
Yeah, I can't. I mean, I can't even imagine a sequel with Tom Holland at this point, because they just wiped the entire slate. It's just nothing. There's nothing to even work with anymore. So what would you even... I guess just pick a villain you like.
Well, that's what it'll be about, right? It'll be like he has no friends and is completely on his own and has to kind of, reestablish a life. And that's not super interesting to me just because of the really gimmicky way that we got there. When I said I wanted him to finally have some tragedy, that is not what I was talking about. But anyway, no, I'm trying to think of cool, interesting ideas, and just with what we've gotten to work with, it's real hard to consider anything.
Can we do a Superman Returns where we forget Far From Home and No Way Home and just make a sequel to Homecoming, like he did to Superman 2? That's what I want.
Oh. That could have its own set of, myriad issues, but sure.
I mean, it's only been 5 years since Homecoming. Just, hey, it's been 5 years, and...
I was just
Spider-Man
thinking
movie.
of like more of like a Superman Returns kind of situation.
Yeah. Well, it'll hopefully be a better director. Senior Sticks, $2. Yeah. Is this the Four Horsemen of Geekvolution?
It is.
It is.
Boom.
Yeah, not as impressive as it sounds.
That's what we've been calling ourselves the few times we've done this. And the second time, I completely forgot we had the whole Horseman thing, so it just happened to be the four of us. Somebody brought that up on the show, and I was like, oh, well, I took no advantage of that. All right.
I just like to read his super chat like he's just disappointed. Like, is this the Four Horsemen I was told about? Like, he's just really disappointed with us. This is it. Sorry.
We were foretold to them.
Yep, read a book. No,
Adam
thanks so much for being here. Moving right along.
Moving to Adam Grimm.
Hi there.
Any relation?
No.
$4.99. Hey, boys of mischief. Have y'all ever screamed at the top of your lungs? Maybe because you were scared.
I mean, yes, I have. Not necessarily because I was scared. I've done it at other drivers on the road.
Yeah, yes, he has.
Of course,
I've yelled at them plenty.
I love that was the first place that my mind also went with you, Brandon.
I mean, it was the obvious choice, was it not? We've heard the stories. We've seen the man.
I think everybody does that more when they're children, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, when you're like a stupid kid and you like get into like stupid kid fights with other people, you yell at each other, you know, verbal, physical, whatever it is, you know. Like my parents used to just like throw us out of the house and tell us to go play in the woods, like with the other kids in the neighborhoods to get us out of the house. So like, you know, you yell all the time when you're doing that kind of thing.
I don't think I've ever screamed because I was scared. You know,
yeah, I don't know if I've ever screamed at the
kind
top
of
of
a
my lungs.
surprised, like, I don't know, you know, kind of quick yelp or something, but not like a scream at the top of your lungs. You know, like I don't want to be all stereotypical and say that only women do that, but like I've never done that. I'm just saying, I'm just imagining like the Vicky Vale thing. You know, like I've never done the Vicky Vale just scream constantly thing. I think that's only in movies, really.
Good save.
Thank you.
I think it'd be hilarious to see you yelp out at like a scare factor, but I've never seen that from you. So.
Oh, you're the only one in the room with them, so you can make it happen, Brandon.
I like to see him try. Anyway,
just look at my face.
Moving right along. Ah!
Dark Moonlight Reviews, $4.99. Yeah. Thoughts on what WB should do with the PR nightmare that is The Flash? Reshoot the movie, just dump it on HBO Max, etc.
No, at this point you have to just put it on Max. It would make no sense to put that in the theater and hope that you could recoup your spending on that movie at the box office. And I think like you're not going to earn your money back regardless. Like there's no way that movie would bomb at the box office. Or if it did really well, it would be because people wanted to see like the dumpster fire, or because somehow enough people hadn't heard about the crazy things that have happened with that actor that they really would just go because the advertising like threw Michael Keaton in their face enough. I don't think at this point there's any chance that that would be enough to reverse the PR nightmare as you put it. I think you have to just put it on Max, and I'll be shocked if that's not what they do.
I say we dump the Flash movie into a dumpster, but seeing as
they have to do something with it, they spent too much money on it.
Yeah, seeing as Warner Brothers' situation, not just the money they spent on it, but also that like every other movie that they have coming out after this is dependent on the Batman cameo parade that's in it.
Yep.
Because like Michael Keaton is going to, through nostalgia, time travel, plot convenience, whatever they end up doing. He's going to be the Batman of the whatever this hodgepodge DC universe is. Like he's in the Batgirl movie. There's rumors that he's in the Aquaman movie. So like introducing all of that garbage here, like people need to be able to like follow what's happening, yeah. I suppose. So, you know, like they have to get people's eyes on this somehow. Whether or not they replace the Flash after that, I think it's like, I feel like they have to. But like eventually, but maybe they just kind of like leave it dormant for a while and don't like touch it as a movie franchise for a bit.
Yeah.
Just do what they did in Zack Snyder's latest movie, where they just put Tig Notaro in for an entirely different actor in the entire movie, and just copy and paste someone in front of Ezra Miller.
Yeah.
No, there's been a lot of rumors that they're already talking about recasting immediately, but the thing is, they didn't seem to have enough faith in the Flash as his, whether it's because of this actor or what, but like in that character to just have a movie that wouldn't be a big event thing that wasn't about rebooting their universe or just making a big deal out of everything is connected again, to just make it about the Flash. That Dan's exactly right. It would be really easy to just kind of throw him under the bus again and not use him for a while. Like, this movie doesn't care about the Flash. It just cares about 89 Batman. So, like, who cares about recasting?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think this is, you know, it suffers from, like, this actor being a wacko, but also the fact that it lost, like, 7 directors, and Warner Brothers has been scrambling to get anybody to make this product for them. So
I think people forget that the whole Flashpoint idea goes back like 5 years now or something.
Yeah. Like Grant Morrison was attached to be writing a script for this at some point with Ezra Miller, and then of course that fell apart because Ezra Miller's a wacko. I can't even imagine what that script looked like, you know. Like, that must have been insane. But because Grant Morrison's already like he's a great writer, but like he's a pretty out there guy himself. I can't imagine what those two, like, in their brain, like what was cooked up there. But yeah, I mean, the trailers like don't look or like the little previews they put out of it don't look awful for what it is. The Flash suit looks marginally better than it did in the Snyder stuff. It looks like the new 52 stuff, which I'm not crazy about because it's like too busy and it's got a lightning bolts on it, but it's at least like a Flash costume instead of like, you know, maroon armor, you know.
And what we've
it looks
seen
a little
about
better.
The updated 89 suit so far looks pretty good too.
Yeah. So, you know, it's unfortunate on Warner Brothers' part, but like Ezra Miller's been like choking out people like even before they started production on this movie. So like, I don't know, I can't feel too bad for them.
Yeah, why didn't they replace him in the first place?
And Ezra Miller, like, I don't like him as the Flash in general. I think he's terrible. So I'm kind of glad that he's not going to get to continue playing the character, to be honest.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that.
But, yeah, now we just need Chris Hemsworth to choke out a girl at a bar.
Please.
The difference is Chris Hemsworth is not a crazy person. He seems like as far as
he's
I
a
know
lazy
anything
person.
about,
He's not a crazy.
Yeah, but he seems like a fine person. For whatever little I might know about the guy, he doesn't seem like a, you know, he's not a nut job or anything.
No, we're not saying that. We wish he was, so he could leave. That's what we're saying.
Yes. Well, you know, the way they could get him to leave, in an interview recently, he said that he only films movies in Australia, so he doesn't have to travel now, and he won't do movies unless he can just improv the whole thing. Yeah, so he doesn't want to leave home, and he doesn't want to act. So, like, if we just keep offering him roles that are like he would have to go somewhere other than his backyard or act, then we can stop, and it would be great.
But
why would he? He's getting paid millions of dollars to do nothing.
Like with as much respect as I can give to folks that really like Ragnarok and the direction we're going with that stuff, because I don't understand that. I think it's awful. But like, I think the performance he gave in that movie and the fact that he only wants to improv should be enough of a reason to fire him in the first place. But it's really popular and working, so of course they're not going to do that. But like,
yeah.
You know, a performance like he gave in the Ghostbusters 2016 movie should be enough to end anybody's career, but it wasn't.
But he gave that performance in Ragnarok. And somehow it made a bazillion dollars.
I don't understand.
Oh, well, here we go.
I know not everybody's with
a question
this,
Dan will like. Hold on, we got a superhero. we got a question Dan will like here. Senior Sticks, $2. What do you think will replace the superhero genre?
I don't know. I mean, I hope it kind of goes back to a status quo in the movie industry where we're allowing filmmakers to make movies with budgets that aren't made on a corporate plan assembly line process, where the producer is choosing all of the projects and then the filmmakers are assigned to them with a script that was rushed out, and they sometimes will come in and make them change the whole entire plot of the movie at the last minute, like they did with the recent Spider-Man movie, and many of the other Marvel movies. I hope that that kind of model fails hard enough soon that goes away, and then we go back to kind of like a 70s new cinema era where the filmmakers are the people, the creative people are the ones in the driver's seat. They have the bargaining power to be able to go to a movie studio and say, hey, I'm a name, like, do you want my movie or not, the way that like Quentin Tarantino does. Like he doesn't have to worry about like what kind of movie he wants to make. He can do it in any genre he wants because he's Quentin Tarantino. Like, he doesn't care. I would like to see that be more prevalent instead of everything either being a superhero movie or trying to replicate that formula and the producer-driven cinematic universe model, because I think it's killing the industry, and I want it to go away desperately. I'm not so much like I don't know or think that it'll be replaced with any particular genre, or at least I hope it's just more diverse. Like, there's just more things of different types of movies being made, Yeah,
that's always the hope.
No, I've said for years and years on the channel that what we need is variety, and we're getting kind of less of it before we're getting more of it. I don't want to see anything replace the superhero genre, and I don't want to see it necessarily go away if people have good stories they want to tell in it. Like, Dan, when you said earlier we're scraping the bottom of the barrel, that's what it looks like, because the wrong people are making the choices of what to put out. Like, there are so many things we've made that we could have made 1,000 times better if only the right people were adapting certain material. I'd like to see lots of things tried again. In a world where
when you said that,
where movies are made with like an actual vision driving them, where we can appreciate that, yes, it's a costly commercial industry and these things have to make money, but that doesn't preclude the notion of being creative and telling character-driven things. But there are lots of genres also that just kind of need to come back and become more prevalent altogether. We praise Guardians a lot for bringing back the space opera, and it's really nice that happened, and that happened with a big tentpole film because Marvel didn't tell him too much about what he could do with it, and so naturally people liked it because it was a guy's vision and it's a good movie. But like, I want more westerns. I want more neo-noirs again. Maybe we are still making those, but like, I don't know, that's a thing I like more just straight up kind of murder mystery things. I
will say this, it's interesting. I don't really have any interest in this movie because it's not really a movie that appeals to me, but so far, like, the only things that have been making money in theaters, if they're not superhero movies, are like superhero adjacent movies, like Fast and Furious, or like you still have to be like that big.
It's a superhero movie with cars. That's basically what it is. Yeah.
But it might be good news that, I know it's a part of technically a franchise, but Top Gun has blew past $1 billion this last week, and it is not like that. It's just a I mean, it's a blockbuster, no doubt, but it's not like trying to be supernatural crazy. Like, it's just plain.
But even that is a legacy Force Awakens style sequel. It's still trying to capitalize on a specific formula. You know what I mean? Like, I would like to see all of these formulas that the corporations are churning content out, even when they do it well. Like, I'm sure that Top Gun movie is great. I've heard people really enjoy it. I liked Force Awakens a lot. That's a movie with this that kind of established that reboot soft sequel thing formula. But it's still the like producer driven, this is the assignment where of the film we're making, let's hire people to do it. And it seems like it turned out really well for what it is. At least I've heard anyway. I haven't seen it, but I've heard nothing but people saying it's great.
Well, talented people can take a project like that if there's not too much studio oversight and turn it into a real movie.
Sure,
absolutely. But that's not the reason they get made in the first place, so that ends up being really few and far between. The big thing I'm scared of right now is what Netflix is doing, because we don't have enough safe harbors for filmmakers that have the stories to tell in various genres that don't need a bazillion dollars to make them, but they do need distribution that can't get them in theaters, so the only place for them is streaming. We talked about this about a month ago, where Netflix has decided that they're not going to bankroll movies like that anymore, and I'm afraid there's not going to be enough people that will. So, like, Netflix wants to compete directly with Marvel. Don't explain to me why. They're freaking crazy people. They're hemorrhaging subscribers, but they're like, the only movies we're going to make are like these, again, kind of tentpole $80-100 million kinds of blockbusters that won't go into the theater. So they just want to make a bunch of brights. And we saw how well that went. Like, I don't understand that. So I'm afraid that there aren't going to be enough places for the kinds of movies, Dan, that you and I want, that are being made right now, to even go.
Most of them are on very small budgets and made either for streaming or get small theatrical releases, or when they do get made with a budget, they bomb, because the audience is conditioned to only expect these kind of gigantic, it's like what the Jurassic World first one is commenting on. It's like, we expect big explosions. Like, for example, when The Northman came out, like, that movie didn't do well in theaters. It's a great movie, but it's not a superhero movie, and they couldn't market it like that, so it's not what people went to the movie to go to see, because that's all that you go to the movies to do now, is to go on a roller coaster ride, like Martin Scorsese talked about. When they put out when Disney pumps out like 4, 5, 6 of these products a year, and most families don't have the money to go to the theater to go see your, small budget indie movie, like, what are they going to go see?
And there also aren't enough small budget indie movies, even if they are available, that are for families, because the majority of them are rated R and for adults. And I like those. I'm not saying we shouldn't have those, but we need more variety with that also. We need family pictures that aren't just giant blockbusters with people with capes.
Yeah, like, even I saw the new Jurassic World movie. That movie is just like the rise of Rex Walker. Like, it's got some of the Force Awakens formula stuff in it, because it brings back the legacy cast, but it's like these movies are so expensive to make now that the corporations bankrolling them don't want to take any risks at all. No storytelling risks. It's just very disheartening to see, because I love movies, you know what I mean? Like, I don't mean to be like a doomer and say like the entire industry is like, terrible or something. There are things that are being made that I really like, but I feel like the era of like people being able to make blockbusters that are really creative, like the movies that the reason why we all do this in the first place, like the blockbusters like Jaws and Star Wars, like all of the blockbusters of the 70s and the 80s and even the 90s, like those are not being made anymore. And I would like them to be made again, is all I'm saying.
And the problem is, and this is what makes it difficult for me not to be a little bit of a doomsayer with this whole thing, and where I feel like distribution and everything is so splintered, the kinds of movies that you and I really want right now, Dan, can really only be made to go to streaming where they can't be successful. And that needs to change, but I can't tell you how exactly that happens, because the problem is too much of what Hollywood is doing is working. And that's the scary thing, is like these things are not all bombing. Some of them are still breaking records.
Of course.
And Hollywood's going to learn the wrong lessons from them. So
they have learned the wrong lessons.
But like they'll continue to. So even something like a Top Gun that, and again, none of us here have seen that except for maybe DJ. I don't know if DJ's seen that.
No.
But I like so I've not seen that movie, so I can't speak to it. But from the way people have been talking about it, that seems like a thing that has kind of gotten out of some of that mold and is maybe a smarter thing that resonates with people. But when something like that does well, all Hollywood says is, okay, we need more decades later sequels, like we've been making.
Yes.
Like Hollywood's going to look at that, and when I say Hollywood, I mean I mean that studio and every other studio. They're not gonna say, oh, there's this different thing that is working, we need to start doing that. I.e., the way the story is told, or the way the movie is shot, or whatever.
Yeah.
What they're gonna take from that is what we've been doing is working, because it's a decades later sequel. It sounds like maybe kind of soft rebooty, etc., etc. They're gonna put that movie in the same category as a Jurassic Plague, as that last Jurassic Park movie. They're the same thing to them. Even though they're not.
Yeah, but what we should be looking at is the kind of movie, because it's made so much more than people. It's made so much money that people are clearly watching it that haven't seen the original or weren't fans. So it's just a good movie.
Word of mouth.
I was gonna make the joke earlier that with Tom Cruise that next they're gonna make the Days of Thunder sequel. Which came out I think around the same time as Top Gun in that era.
And I'd like to be, provide a little bit of upbeat optimism, I suppose, in the sense that there are instances that I think a director has been allowed to make a blockbuster movie in recent years, and the studio seems to be backing them at least now. But like Warner Brothers is in so much flux, I'm not confident that it's going to continue. Denis Villeneuve's Dune movie is a blockbuster, and it feels like his creative vision, and it's awesome. And I'm really excited for the second one. And that's the kind of blockbuster movie. That is the kind of blockbuster movie I would like to see made, where it's a guy that has this book. He's like, hey, some David Lynch movie came out in the 80s or whenever the heck that came out. No one really cares about that, but I love this book. I want to make a movie out of it. He brings it to the studio because he's a named director. He's cut his teeth making smaller movies, and they fund him and let him do it. And it turned out great. They didn't really screw with his vision or anything. The thing that worries me is that movie bombed at the box office because it was during the pandemic, and the Warner Brothers new CEO is a cheapo, and he's cutting everything. So I'm hoping that Dune isn't affected by this. So I guess we'll see, but that is like the positive example, it's in my mind, of the way that the film industry, I think, could be awesome again. Because that was a really bright spot for me. It was really refreshing. I was like, oh, this feels like a movie that was made in earlier eras,
But that's a special case. We don't know what dirt he has on some executive or some sorcery he's pulling, because he's been making movies with his
that
vision untouched
but have been
for
wonderful.
Years.
Yeah.
For years.
Yeah.
No other director could have pulled off a 2049 and then Dune.
Much money after the Blade Runner sequel, which is wonderful, but didn't do real great. And then they're like, let's give you another thing like this. Dan, I think if it hadn't been for the pandemic, Dune actually would have performed. Because the word of mouth on that was crazy. And a lot of people watched that I didn't think would bother with it, at home streaming. Now the question is, would they have left their house? I don't know.
Right, exactly.
But I didn't realize that Warner's had an executive that was so much different, because the word from them, while they were putting all their stuff on HBO Max, as it was coming out during the pandemic, was nobody panic. We know the numbers don't mean anything. So anything that's coming out right now, if it seems to be at least liked well enough, we'll probably get sequels regardless of money, and that's why Dune immediately continued to go into production.
Well, I mean, it's in flux because of the Discovery merger. The new CEO cut off all the heads of the Warner Brothers film production people. They're all being fired, except for, I think, the DC Films guy, who may go soon, and one other person. And he canceled Raised by Wolves on HBO Max, which was one of my other favorite shows. I'm really disappointed about. Got axed. So he and his philosophy is that he's bringing over from the Discovery Network is low investment high profits. So investing as little money as possible in your content to see the highest returns. Like Discovery is all mostly reality television type content, not like it's like the Kardashians, but it's like you don't need a film production budget in order to produce the content. And they don't have a giant subscriber base, but their content is cheap enough that their streaming service was really profitable, enough that they had enough money to buy Warner Brothers. So it's that's his philosophy, is invest as little money as possible in our production end so that we can profit more. And that philosophy worries me a little bit, but I mean, I guess we'll see, you know?
Yeah, it's a double-edged sword, because we've also been complaining for years that too many things, especially on the superhero side, we've got to throw $100, $200, $300 million at every time, even if they don't seem to warrant that. So, like, it was nice that, so like, that kind of philosophy worked with Joker, where it's like, it doesn't have to be a $100 million movie to bring in the kind of money that brought in. But you can't make everything like that. And, like, Dune is going to require a big budget.
Exactly. Yeah.
The other weird thing, even because I would have said this even despite the Discovery merger, the other weird thing with a lot of the things that that we're praising, despite how kind of formulaic a lot of things are coming out of the same studio. But then the same studio is making a lot of those same mistakes. So you've got the Batman and your Dune and your Joker from Warner Brothers, but they also made the Birds of Prey movie, and et cetera, et cetera. And so I mean, they're making a lot of the same mistakes.
And Aquaman, I can't wait, that movie. Yeah. No, Warner Brothers, the new CEO also went on record to say that he wants to turn the company into Disney, which really worries me too, because Disney is the studio that I think puts out the worst films. So, I guess we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
Really quick, I forgot. Yeah. We never came back to the second part of TH1's question, where he said, have you caught up on the Orville?
No, I'm still an episode behind, so not going to talk about that right now, but have loved it so far. It's been wonderful.
I haven't finished rewatching seasons 1 and 2, so I haven't gotten to it yet. I'm really excited to, though.
I didn't finish my rewatch either, but I decided to go ahead and start watching it, because I was afraid people would spoil stuff from me.
See, I'm afraid about that, too, but I'm watching through it with my girlfriend who's never seen it, so we're doing that together before I...
Well, don't make me mad, Brandon. I'll just spoil it all right now. I'll just tell you everything that happened.
You know I wouldn't accept that. That might be the thing I walk out on you on. No.
It's good to know. I'll follow that away.
I'm giving an ammunition.
Roger Lee.
As soon as I'm sick of Brandon, I'll just start telling what happens in the Orville.
Oh, whatever. You got sick of me years ago.
Roger Lee wants to know, it was revealed on the... Ooh. I don't know if I should read this. It was, I guess I have to. You can close your ears, Cap. It was revealed on the season 2 finale of Superman and Lois, a wonderful show.
Don't tell me things.
No, Dan has already basically said this.
Oh.
Superman and Lois, a wonderful show this week that it's not part of the Arrowverse, and this Superman is Earth's only superhero. Makes me even more invested.
Well, it would be interesting to see if that actually kind of tracks with 1, because I've only seen, and I never even finished the last episode of that season. I need to go back and do that. I don't know why I like that show. It's just always off my radar. I keep forgetting to watch it. Diggle does show up there, so I guess all that would mean is that it's maybe in another universe that has a Diggle. And so, I mean, it would still have to be Arrowverse in the sense that it has to be one of the multiple Earths. But I guess after Crisis, they roped everything in, even stuff that CW didn't make, and even stuff that the creators of shows came on record and said they didn't want to be roped in, and that they didn't sign off on, but they did it anyway, because CW was crazy. That was unfortunate. Like, I don't like what little I've seen of Titans, but that wasn't fair to those guys. Because the producers of Titans were like, yeah, we didn't want our footage used and roped into the scene. Because the end of Crisis is like, well, we had all these, infinite Earths, and now there's like 10, and here's what they are. And one of them was the Titans universe. And they were like, well, now hold on, we didn't say you could do that.
So how did they square the peg of this Superman being the same one that's in Supergirl with the same costume and the same supporting cast, but is only the only superhero in this world. That just
because he doesn't have the same supporting cast. So what
isn't the Lois Lane the same one from that show?
Yeah, but she's the only one, and she's written completely different.
Weird.
And again, it's easy to reconcile, Dan, because they just did Crisis, so like they just reset everything. And Supergirl was the show that was most massively changed by it, because what you got to realize is that world wasn't in the universe of the rest of the CW shows, because it started on a different network. So when they brought it over, they said it's in a different Earth, because it had to be. There's no way around it. Nobody's ever talked about Superman in the Arrowverse, and they very quickly started crossing it over with multiverse stuff. So like they did a Flash Supergirl crossover pretty early, where they just go into each other's universes, and so it stayed separate the whole time, and they would just occasionally do multiversal crossover episodes with it. And then when you get to Superman and Lois, they just kind of sidestep it and don't talk about it very much, which is pretty easy to do, because that Superman had showed up maybe 4 or 5 times total. Like he mostly they would use him in like big crossover event episodes, but that was about it. So like he had gone off planet at one point, and I guess he and Lois went and had a kid or kids, and then now they have kids in the show, and like that's about all. I mean, like, so that lines up okay, I guess. Like there wasn't all that. Weirdly, the Superman side didn't have too much baggage. They just have to be really careful not to use, certain characters that Supergirl has already dealt with, I guess. But that's why they set in Smallville. Like, it made it pretty easy. They've just been kind of sidestepping and going to characters that they never got to in that show.
Well, this is why I don't watch the CW, folks. It's continuity nonsense.
Continuity nonsense.
Senior Sticks, $5. How many more seasons can Doom Patrol last, being it embraces the weird Now It on HBO Max rough estimate?
I don't know. I mean, as long as people were still watching it, I'm sure it can go as long as they want it to. I haven't been watching it, so I don't know what they're doing with that show right now. That's another show I just keep forgetting to go back to. I saw the pilot. It's pretty good. It's not exactly my bag, which is why I haven't continued watching it, but like I like it for what it's doing. It's just, I don't know, it's a little too vulgar for my taste on like a regular basis, which is part of the reason I haven't continued with The Boys, but it's just a taste issue.
Yeah, I watched the first, I don't know if I got through the whole first season of Doom Patrol, but it was, other things were scratching that itch for me that I liked more, like Umbrella Academy and Legion at the time, so I just never...
Legion's awesome.
Finished.
I really liked what I saw of that show.
Somehow, I think
it was 3.
That I have to, maybe it was only 3. But yeah, I'm going to have to do a season overview of that first season in the not too distant future finally, and then I'll try to watch the rest of it.
Yeah, Legion got, and then Umbrella Academy's 3rd season just dropped. I'm about halfway through it with my wife.
Did it get
I
better?
didn't realize that show was still
because I know
going.
you weren't super happy with the 2nd season.
I thought season 2 was a step down from season 1, and I am not really liking season 3 very much at all. But hopefully it sticks to the landing.
Guys, I can't get the chat up right now. I'm not sure why. We appear to still be broadcasting, but my internet, or my Chrome is claiming I don't have internet. But I must.
Oh, weird.
Because we're talking.
So, I don't know. So, I don't know what that's about. But anyway, so this could crash on us at any point, I guess. But hopefully it doesn't.
The pending crash.
Yeah, exactly. So,
Crisis at Geekvolution.
So I don't even know how long we've been broadcasting. I usually am looking at a clock on my browser, and the browser's gone, so...
Oh, no.
Well, let's get through as many as we can before the universe implodes.
How many super chats do we have left, DJ?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Okay, let's go ahead and try to knock them out. Go ahead.
Odd Man Out Inc. $4.99. What do you guys miss the most about the early days of the geeky pop culture boom?
So that's
Circa
Kareem. Hi, Kareem, and real quick plug for a show tomorrow night. Kareem is gonna guest with me on the Comic Vault, and we're gonna be doing. This is 8 o'clock Central tomorrow night. We're gonna be doing the Green Lantern Green Arrow run from Denny O'Neil. And
that stuff's great.
It's really good. What I've read of it so far, I'm like 3 issues in, and I'm really enjoying it. It's going to be really interesting to talk about. But yeah, that's Denny O'Neil and Neil Adams, and we were going to do that shortly after Neil Adams passed away. It's been a couple 3 months now, and we're finally getting around to it. So, but that was our plan was to do kind of a tribute thing for Neil Adams, and of course we lost Denny O'Neil a couple years ago now. I think was it a couple of years ago?
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah.
So tribute to both of those wonderful creators who are no longer with us anymore. Talking about some of their best work, both of them. So yeah, that's some of
No, I'm excited to see what you think of that, because that's one of the few Green Lantern and Green Arrow things, I guess, that I've read like a whole run of, and I love that stuff. I think it's fantastic.
Yeah, it's 7 issues. It was done in the regular Green Lantern book with a couple of issues apart from that like interrupted it occasionally, and then it was reprinted as its own series.
Green
Lantern, Green Arrow. Strike that reverse.
Neil Adams' art alone is like worth it for that, but like the Denny O'Neil writing is fantastic in that too.
Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was some of the heaviest stuff that had been attempted at DC, at least in continuity at that point. Well, I guess. Well, I mean, it predates Watchmen, so I guess. Yeah, I guess maybe
Conan
overall,
and Green Arrow, Green Lantern were doing edgy stuff before Watchmen, kids.
That's right. They sure were.
It's all because of Conan. Anyway, should we answer Kareem's question?
Oh, sure. Yeah, why not? Sorry,
I'll read it again.
I missed that it was too saturated. That it was not as saturated that it is today. To answer that question.
Well, let him repeat it again. That's what he was about to do.
Yeah. Good memory, Brandon. What do you guys miss the most about the early days of the geeky pop culture boom, circa 2008 to 2009? I miss that I was 16 and I liked everything, and I just went to see every comic book movie in the theater, and it was amazing.
There was this sweet. This is going to sound so pretentious for me to say, you guys, but the big thing for me was this kind of sweet spot where superhero movies were getting really mainstream, and a lot of people that never seemed to really care before were suddenly interested, but the mainstream audience, the just like regular moviegoers that never cared about those characters, never cared about comics before, any of that stuff, weren't like claiming ownership of it the way they are now. That's the big thing I miss, where like there used to be this kind of like wide-eyed, bushy-tailed thing from the mainstream that was like, oh gee, what cool things can be adapted that I don't know about that I'm gonna get to go see. Now it's like, it's been going on for so long, there's a lot of folks that have never cracked open a comic book, and I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with those folks being fans of these things, and to some degree they should kind of take ownership of it, but it's just this kind of lacking a perspective thing, where you have a lot of folks in the mainstream that like, this is superheroes and genre fiction for them, and there's a lot of stuff that they don't know what they're missing, and there's a lot of watered down stuff that where things were adapted that just aren't adapted very well. And you have all these, for instance, you have all these like Thanos fans now that in my mind just don't even know who Thanos is, and they've kind of taken over, like that's what the genre is now. And so like, I'm glad that they're enjoying some of this stuff more than I've been able to, and a lot of it I still do like, don't get me wrong, but like there was this period where I guess naively didn't think or wasn't sure that it would become as kind of like watered down and samey and formulaic as I think a lot of it has gotten, where it just kind of felt like Wild West in the right kind of way, and like it felt like it was for everybody. And now I feel like, being a big fan of the stuff before it got huge, I feel a little left out now, and I feel like that stuff is more for folks that grew up with it because it's been around for as long as it has. And it's not about adaptation as much as it is just about like, the MCU in that universe now, or I guess mostly just the MCU, but yeah.
Yeah, I miss it was basically what Dan wants now. Like it was people, I mean 2008 was Guillermo del Toro making Hellboy 2, Nolan making Dark Knight, letting him do whatever he wanted for Iron Man, which was not even have a script and just improv the whole thing. And then like the Incredible Hulk movie came out, which would never get made now. Like I love that movie. It's like just a love letter to the TV show because that's what he wanted to make. Like it was just letting directors, because there was no stakes. Like no one knew how huge it was going to be. So now everyone's got their fingers in the pies like crazy.
When anything gets this corporate, this is what tends to happen. But
yeah, I miss the days when we could make a superhero movie that was just a direct adaptation of the singular comic book character that they were based on.
Yeah.
Like one of the things that I don't love about the current Marvel movies is, I mean, amongst many things, but this is one of them. We can't make a movie that's about a singular character anymore. Every Marvel movie is a Marvel team-up movie where the character, his supporting cast is the other superheroes of the Marvel universe. Like the Daily Bugle cast, Peter Parker's best friends, except for 2 people, don't exist. You know, like I miss the days like the Raimi Spider-Man movies. Like the entire supporting cast of the Spider-Man comic books, the solo series, were in those movies. Same thing with the Ben Affleck Daredevil movie. Like they were adaptations of just the good stories that you like from those things, rather than having to be this kind of like interconnected team up to get as much butts and seats. Oh my God, isn't it cool that Tony Stark is here, or this guy is here, or this person's there? I miss that. In addition to the things that you guys mentioned, because I don't know, I was never a huge team book person except for the X-Men. So I prefer the more pared down, grounded stories with these characters that are just kind of about the psychology of them as people and their interpersonal lives. That's what appeals to me about the Marvel characters in general. And I feel like we're missing that because we can't, everything has to be either a team up between them and 2 or 3 other characters, or there's like 8 villains in the movie and we have to put an advertisement at this point in the plot to set up the phase 5 plot. It's they have to be a servant to so many masters that they're barely even stories anymore. When
a good one is made, it's like it's because that creator is fighting for their life to try to get their story squeezed in there. Like
yes. Exactly.
It's really difficult to squeeze out a good one.
Or because they're being rushed so hard at the 11th hour that sometimes a positive thing will come out of that, which is the studio won't have as much oversight because they've got to get something out. So if you get the right person under those circumstances, like I think we have with Raimi with Doctor Strange 2, you end up with a better movie than you actually might have otherwise, because they actually kind of let him do what he wanted to, just because like they waited too long.
So, like, that's a good point too.
That was a weird situation. It doesn't happen very often.
2008 we had Iron Man and Hulk. 2010 was Iron Man 2, and then 2011 was Captain America. Like we weren't pumping out 2 or 3 a year. We were like giving them some space in between them.
Well, we had Thor in 2011, but yeah.
Breathing.
Yeah, and the only thing I guess I'll mention in terms of other things I miss are when the comic books were good.
Yeah.
I miss that.
Yeah, when the comic books were not just advertisements for movies that the people reading them are already seeing anyway.
Yeah, and there are some good things going on at both companies, I'm sure, 2 or 3 titles apiece. But I miss the era of like when Joe Quesada was editor-in-chief at Marvel. And Joe Quesada made mistakes. I'm not saying he's a perfect person or an editor-in-chief or whatever. There's some dumb stories under his reign that I don't like. But almost every Marvel book in the early to mid-2000s when he was the editor-in-chief had a definitive run on the character going on at some point.
Yep.
You had JMS on Spider-Man. You had Bendis on Daredevil. You had Brubaker on Captain America. You had Fraction on Iron Man. Like the list just goes on and on of like stories that are being told with the characters that were worth adapting into the movies. And the tail is entirely wagging the dog now. Like Kevin Feige's the guy in charge of the comic books at Marvel.
Yeah.
He's a movie producer.
Like,
why is that guy in charge of the creative direction of the comic books? I don't know. And Joe Quesada just left the company too, which is like the last person that's interested in comic books in the upper echelon, like as a professional. I'm not saying that like the people at Marvel don't like them. I'm sure they do, but I'm talking about creating them.
Yeah.
He was the last guy in the upper echelon of the like talent in the company, and he's gone now. It's all movie people. And I think in the future, because the comic books are so niche already and sell basically nothing and are barely profitable, they're just going to become a movie company eventually. Like all of the people that run the company are movie people at this point.
It's hard not to feel like that's sort of already happened.
Yeah, exactly. And I really miss that. It's a bummer because I love the comic book medium, and I love these characters because of the comic book medium, you know. But
well, the name of the game used to be you've got, you know, separate creators that are telling their own stories that are in a universe totally apart from the movie one, that's not too influenced by that. And I think that kind of forced synergy has started really rearing its ugly head around, like, really just after Marvel Now, because that period was awesome and almost everything, like, they were firing on all
Marvel
cylinders.
Now was great.
Almost everything was great right then. And then directly after that, I think things start to fall apart around Age of Ultron, when that book has like entire plot points that the movie will, where like we're not adapting movies from material, we're like you said, tail wagging the dog, like the material in the comics is foreshadowing stuff with movies because it already knows about it. It's like testing waters or something. And it stops being about creating things that we can adapt in different ways later. Dan, a couple of major things you mentioned that I want to comment on real quick before we move on, because they're interesting. You said what we used to do, and by the way, I'm sure I speak for everybody here when we say we don't mean to sound like old men saying get off our lawn. It's not like circa 2010, 2011, everything was perfect and rosy and we loved everything that came out. But you mentioned that we used to adapt characters and stories more straight, and that's true. One of the things, not always, but we did it more. One of the things that I really appreciated about the MCU more early on, especially like just after Avengers, was there was this nice kind of midpoint where we wouldn't even be directly adapting stories so much as keeping characters kind of true to the spirit of them and taking story beats from lots of different interesting places and creating something original that comic fans could be surprised by and wouldn't walk in and go, well, I've seen this story exactly before.
Right.
And even when we did adapt something like that was an event and called it the same thing, like Civil War, that's not the same story. And like it's great because it's improved on it, because I like that story and I don't like the comic story. But even if I loved both, it's telling a different story, so I could have gotten to be surprised. Winter Soldier is not a direct adaptation of anything. Like, that story is not in comics. But it feels like a definitive Marvel story that could have been in comics. That's what's great about that kind of thing. And over the last few years, I just feel like that stuff has been few and far between. There have been a couple, but for the most part, we haven't really had that. The other thing is, you mentioned everything's got to be teams now. And that's been obnoxious, not just at Marvel, but also DC. Like, I'm making fun of them constantly for the majority of their movies, starting with BVS. They have to be more about, and not just team movies, but movies that are just about building teams. It feels like instead of telling a cool story, we'll make the whole thing about getting a band together in the first place, an obligatory third act, and then the real cool story will be next time, but it never is. Like, the next thing we do is just that again, over and over and over again. And so, like, chasing Marvel's coattails was massively detrimental to them in that way and many others, but especially because, well, the big ticket now is Avengers. We've got to pull all these characters together, and so we got to do it every single time. You can only name like two that don't, and it's obnoxious.
Yeah, I mean, look at the trailers for the new Thor movie, and every single one of them, pretty much, Hemsworth is like, "Oh, we're putting together the best team ever."
Yeah, stop it.
It's
nice
like
impression.
You also mentioned that. Actually, I'm trying to remember how I got to this, because this is one more thing I just remembered that I thought of while you were talking. I was going to mention, because of the team thing and all of that, so many of these movies have to be big events now. That's a thing I miss, where we could just tell a cool story that might not be about setting anything else up. Not everything felt like a setup film. What we do now is like too far in either extreme. You either, and it's mostly big event things, but you either have a movie that is supposed to feel so consequential, or you have a movie that should be a fun, off the beaten path kind of thing, but I'm still invested in the characters, that ends up being so inconsequential I might as well not have seen it. We've got too many of those. Wonder Woman 1984 is an example. And then you also had that with like the second Ant-Man movie, where it's like, why did I even bother seeing that? Nothing happens in it. That's another thing.
Well, yeah, we can't even get an ongoing series anymore. Like, there's no Spider-Man series. There's no Captain America trilogy. There's no, I mean, Iron Man is the closest thing we got, but even that's heavily influenced by Avengers. Like, everything is, like, Spider-Man was just yanked all over the place. There's no trilogy there.
Well, and who was I talking to about this just last night? You'll set stuff up. Maybe Austin and I had this conversation. You're setting up stuff that you want to happen in your next movie, because filmmakers still seem naive enough to think that they're making a movie that will get a sequel, but that sequel will be informed by 15 other movies, and so by the time you get there, you can't even do the stuff that you set up at the end of the last one, because just we've moved on from that. Like too many years have passed. So like if you set up the stuff you want to do with Mordo at the end of Doctor Strange, the next time you see Doctor Strange, we might just be too far away from it where we can't do that now.
Yeah, I mean, I miss the days when the scale and tone of the story were appropriate for the thing you were adapting. Like, for example, Spider-Man is one of my go-to examples because he's my favorite of Marvel's characters. Spider-Man is a street-level character. He is a character that deals with things that happen on the streets of New York City. The plots of Spider-Man do get big and epic, but they're big and epic because of the emotional stakes of what's going on between the characters. They feel like epic adventures because Norman Osborn and Peter Parker are having a emotional battle with each other that ends with one of Peter's loved ones being thrown off a bridge. It's not like the entire world is going to blow up, or in the case of No Way Home, the universe might collapse in on itself if Spider-Man doesn't succeed. It's like the stakes are, is Spider-Man going to be able to pay his bills? Will he be able to save Aunt May before she dies in the hospital? Like very grounded human things, and that's what I like about the character. That's why I relate to him. When the movies are all about all of this gigantic crap, I don't think that they are serving the spirit of what the character is supposed to be in the first place anymore. And I don't know. I miss that. Well,
like the big Avengers movies, the world is at stake, right? That's everybody. But you mentioned Spider-Man. Spider-Man's world is at stake. It's not and it feels epic because it's his life, and it's the people that he's closest to.
Exactly.
Like when he saves the train, that's just a train full of people in New York City, but you get the impression that he did this, great thing that's larger than life.
Yes.
There's also with specifically that example, Dan, and I mean that's the right example, and there are other things that have that same problem. But specifically with Spider-Man, the big difference between the Raimi movies and really everything after it, but especially when you get to MCU, is you've got a lot of years of comic history in between where the comics themselves have kind of lost that spirit of what that character was all about, where you had too many stories and that were more about the big grand kind of multiversal time travel, whatever kinds of stories. And then you had a whole generation of kids that grew up with Spider-Man that if they were looking at the right material, might get what Spider-Man's all about, but also might have kind of missed the point. Because I feel like we see that sometimes, right? With folks where Spider-Man's about the big grand science stuff. He's not he's not just like a scientist kid. He owns his own corporate company. Yeah. So you do have Dan Slott, some other folks to blame for that to some degree that we got there in the movies the way we did, because cartoons and stuff were all about that for a while and completely lost sight of what the point of that character was.
Well, I mean, and in the movies too, like Spider-Man's the apprentice of a billionaire. Like, Spider-Man's supposed to be like the quintessential blue-collar working-class superhero. He's a man of the people. Like, that's why I relate to him. Uncle Ben is a New York City union bridge worker. That's the guy who teaches him how to be a man. Like, I related to that aspect of the character because my dad is a house painter. Like, just a person that works with their hands, like, doesn't have a lot of money, like, struggling to make it. And that's the world that Spider-Man came from, and I related to that a lot. The new movies, he's just like, oh, like, I have access to Batman tech, and like the guy who taught me how to be a superhero is this eccentric billionaire who's a complete jerk. I mean, I don't know, like, it's fundamentally not the character anymore to me.
But I still say if we had just stuck with the point of the end of that movie moving forward, it still could have worked okay.
It could have, yeah.
It could have. About Homecoming?
I'm talking about Homecoming, yeah.
I'm telling you, Superman Returns it. Just make a sequel to Homecoming where he says he's not going to be an Avenger, and then he doesn't become an Avenger the next week. He actually doesn't.
He doesn't want the suit, and then he never puts the suit back on. Somebody explain to me why he continues using it after that. It just, like, we regressed that character.
Yeah.
It's really
and I think Spider-Man Homecoming is definitely the best of the MCU Spider-Man movies because it gets the kind of blue-collar superhero aspect of the character in that, like, Vulture is just evil Uncle Ben in that movie, and it's awesome.
Especially in comparing to Vulture,
yeah, like, after he loses the tech crap, like the Iron Man suit, and he, like, goes back to, like, just being a guy in cloth and is, like, getting the crap kicked out of him, like, that is Spider-Man. One of the definitive, like, Spider-Man scenes for me is in, like, JMS's run where he's, like, fighting Moreland and his suit is all torn up and he's bloody and he can barely stand, and, like, he knows he's going to lose this confrontation, but he gets up and he still does it anyway. Like, that's what Spider-Man is all about. He's not about, like, being in this CGI iron suit with giant legs and being like, oh my God, people from 8 universes are here. Like, that's not what I like about the character, but other people do. So I'm glad that they enjoy it. I don't know.
Well, and you already had that, like, teenage fanboy, like, so excited to just be around other superhero characters in the comics with Miss Marvel. Now you have Miss Marvel, she has her own show. You didn't have to also do that with Peter Parker. Like, I know I'm saying this in hindsight, but, like, you got that character, and now you're adapting it. Why do we have to do that with Peter Parker? It's irritating.
Well, and the cool thing about Peter Parker in the comic books that I like, and Andrew Garfield is the best Spider-Man because he gets this aspect of the character. Spider-Man is a very angsty person and is a social outcast. He doesn't like most of the superheroes he comes into contact with in the regular Marvel universe. When he meets them at first, he's like, I don't like these people. Screw them. Like,
Yeah, he's a total loner.
Yeah, exactly. But
that's why putting him and Daredevil together was always interesting, because they're both loners, but they come at it for different reasons and from different places.
Well, and most of the superheroes in Marvel are all these super rich guys that work for S.H.I.E.L.D. and have their entire lives paid for them. He wouldn't like those kind of people because he has to fight for everything he has.
Garfield even said that exactly in an interview. He was like, Spider-Man wouldn't like Tony Stark. Like, and I'm like, yes, this guy gets it. He understands.
What? I want to believe in the multiverse theory just so that guy, there can be a universe somewhere where that guy got to make good Spider-Man movies after the first one.
Andrew Garfield's the best. I love his take on the character because it's just what I like about the character in the first place,
Okay, so once again, somehow we're still broadcasting, even though everything else on my computer says that I have no internet. So I've lost complete track of time. I can't tell how long we've been broadcasting. We must be getting close to 2 hours, and it's almost 10 here. So, but we started a few minutes late, so maybe we've got like 15 minutes left if we need them. DJ, how many super chats are left? Have any more
11.
I guess they have. I can't tell. My screen
says
says
refresh anymore.
No internet. Yeah. I keep trying. Yeah. So anyway, I have no internet, but we're broadcasting. So DJ, give us another question, and we'll try to go a little bit quicker. we just gave you kind of a thesis for Kareem. Quit being interesting, seriously. Anyway, DJ, go ahead.
All right,
half
Roger.
an hour thesis on Kareem's.
Well, this is the yes or no. So
Dan, I feel like we just took a blue book test, man. Like I'm exhausted. I need gray.
You just refer to a blue book test? Oh my god.
Yeah, I say that a lot. Go ahead, DJ.
I love Spider-Man a lot. I can stop talking about it if it's taking too long.
Spider-Dan, stop talking about Spider-Man.
No, see, you're giving me the same problem that Kareem is, which is you'll say an interesting thing, and then I want to talk more.
Yeah, let me talk. I won't say anything interesting.
It's actually a really good idea.
It's actually not true either, because how often do I say something people are like, what the hell was that?
Oh, well, that happens a lot.
Yeah,
but that's
quite
maybe
a
different
bit.
than interesting. It's interesting in a different way.
My mind is interesting.
It's interesting in the way that, like, you try food at Thanksgiving, and then your mom's like, how was that? And you're like, well, it was interesting. It's interesting like that.
Oh, dang.
Anyway,
Savage.
sorry, DJ, go ahead.
Roger Lee, another $10. Top Gun
I have
Maverick.
a quota. I'm sorry.
Top Gun Maverick cruised past $1 billion in its 5th week and only missed first place by $1 million. Word of mouth has been incredible. Cap, any luck in finding a babysitter yet?
No,
What?
I'm not. I'm
Get
not.
on it, Cap. Find a babysitter.
Get the babysitter.
So people are begging me to go see this movie in the theater. And I'm sorry for repeating this again, but now it's come up and Brandon doesn't know what we're talking about. So Top Gun is one of my wife's favorite movies. I didn't want to go see the sequel to that in the theater without her. I didn't think that was fair, and she doesn't really care that much, but I do. I don't think it's right. That would be like if and I guess this has just been greenlit now, but that would be like if a sequel to Dirty Dancing came out and I went and saw it before she got to see it. Like that's her favorite movie of all time. I'm not going to do that. But yeah, we don't really have anybody that can watch all the kids for 2 hours right now, as little as the girls still are. So I'm gonna have to wait to video, I think. I don't know. I guess I could be like, okay, Sarah, like they're harassing me. I guess I have to go see it, and then she'd be fine with it. But I don't want to. I want to see it with her is the thing. I don't want to see that by myself. So. Because if it's that good, I don't want to like have it in my brain and can't talk to her about it. Like that's not cool.
What if she went and saw it first, and then you went and saw it?
She wouldn't.
Oh.
She doesn't care. That's the thing.
Oh, right. You did mention
It's like,
that.
even though people are saying it's really good, Sarah doesn't have to see things at the theater. She doesn't have that thing. It doesn't matter how big of a deal you make out of the theater-going experience.
Right.
Like, Sarah loved Dune, and she's a huge Dune fan. She's probably read that book like 4 times. She's like a massive Dune fan. Did not care about seeing that on the big screen. And it's Dune. Like, that
well,
is...
to be fair,
like,
your screens at home are really big.
Yeah, but they're not...
I know
it's
they're
a
not
movie
that.
theater. It's still different.
But,
like,
yeah, it is.
Yeah. It doesn't matter how good your like sound your surround sound system is and how big your screen is. It's still not the movie theater. But anyway, I'm sorry. Go ahead, DJ.
Yeah, everyone's just saying, yeah, you need to see it, Cap, and Brandon can babysit. A lot of chiming in that Brandon should babysit.
I mean, it's not a horrible idea.
That's actually
if you
not a
make it
horrible
work.
idea. Okay, maybe I'll talk to Brandon about it. I'll have to sweet talk him. I'll have to give him something cool.
I was actually going to say potentially something off camera. I wasn't going to bring it up on camera. Hey, you know.
Well, that's
I
what
am
the
around.
chat's
Think of
for.
that. I mean, like I paid Brandon for weeks to help me out with the girls. Like he's actually, pretty qualified. But yeah, they're easier now, of course.
Yeah.
'Cause, they're a year old, and you basically just have to chase Cassandra around because she's climbing up on comic boxes and stuff, and she's gonna fall and break her
boy.
face, and we don't want that because she's adorable. Anyway, moving right along.
All right, Senior Sticks, $2. With all these superhero media,
Yeah.
how will you rebrand?
What does that mean?
I don't know.
How are you gonna rebrand, Cap?
How am I gonna read? Well, I think
You got to rebrand. There's too much superhero media.
given that there's so much superhero media, I don't think I really have to do anything, right? Like, I can kind of just... It seems like it's still relevant enough. People still want me to talk about it. I think I'll just keep staying the course right now. As long as you don't mind me talking a lot about things that I'm not liking that much,
No,
because a lot of things are not great, but sometimes things are.
You need the Geekvolution multiverse at this point.
Oh.
You just gotta,
Do I? There's just too
you
many.
gotta have like Geekvolution 2, Geekvolution 3, and they're hosted by Dan's on one of them. Dan hosts one of them.
Oh. We have like a
Dan's
whole
solution.
network of
Yeah, network, the
Geekvolution.
Geekvolution News Network,
Oh. I don't want to do that.
Oh,
which is just
I'll
GNN,
start working
just
on my announcer
reuse
voice.
GNN.
GNN. Yeah, that's how we
GNN.
rebrand. We
Yeah.
just use an acronym we
The
had already.
Geekvolution News Network. Now coming to you live from Kansas
and
City.
we just steal the logo from like Batman Forever or anything else that used Gotham News Network. You just did GNN, but it's like that font. We just rip it off.
There you go.
That's a good idea. Yeah.
There are people in the chat that are telling telling the audience to not give any more super chats. They don't want you to get any more money, Cap.
No, don't tell them that.
we should say last call because we need to finish the show out here. But
True.
Well, I want to say thanks to everybody that has supported the show in that way and wants their questions read. And to folks that don't want people to leave any more super chats, I completely understand why. But you know, for obvious reasons, I don't mind that much. Let's go ahead and continue, shall we? What is next, DJ?
We have another one from Roger Lee. Another $10 from Roger Lee.
Oh, thanks, man. Really appreciate it.
Will Star Trek Club ever be back? Really miss your Trek talk and commentaries with Brandon and Adam. Also,
Awesome.
Star Trek Beyond remains the last movie you guys still need to do a commentary
We talked
for.
about that a couple weeks ago, actually.
Yeah, I did say we will definitely come back and at least do that. I want to bring Star Trek Club back at some point. I just have way too many things we're doing. It's very difficult to prioritize it. It's not a show that got that there was a lot of interest in. It's super niche, obviously. I mean, our
It's a
Star Trek
passion
audience
project, right?
has always. I don't even want to say that because it's not like it ever had an end. Like we were just meeting and hanging out and talking about Star Trek.
But yeah, that to me, I guess, yeah.
But it's a thing that I love doing and I miss and I miss the old club, and so that was kind of shades of that, and I got to write trivia again and stuff. It's hard to prioritize. There's about 300 people that cared, but I mean I also have that with the Power Rangers the series I'm doing right now with Jason, but that's also just a thing I really wanted to do. So yeah, at some point I really hope so. It's just kind of a matter of the girls getting a little bit bigger and being able to do more things during the evening again. Because I'm still in a place where most of the things I do have to be like after a certain hour, but it's not quite as bad as it was. So
I'll make sure it comes back eventually.
Oh, he harasses me about it constantly.
Actually, it's been a minute since I have, but I should, because the last time I asked, that's the answer you gave me, and I totally respect that, like 100%.
It's gonna be awkward if we bring it back because now there's one new Trek show I would actually want to do on that live stream, and because we just discounted them entirely before.
We did.
Because they're all bad, and then Strange New Worlds happened, and I've been liking it okay. The last three I've been lukewarm on, but it's still Star Trek.
We could have a segment, just a tiny segment, footnote about.
Well, no, I mean, I think we should do a couple commentaries on that show probably, and I just don't want to do that with any other new Trek. But anyway,
that's all right.
Moving right along.
Senior Sticks, another $2. Will the Sonyverse surpass the MCU in popularity?
That's impossible.
I hope so.
Hey, you never know. Craven could be Sony Pictures' Oscar contender film this year. You never know. It could be amazing.
That would be that. I would. The part of me just wants that to take off.
Did you ask that because you think it's possible, or did you ask it because you just wanted to see us laugh for like 5 straight minutes? No, they'll never get that kind of consumer confidence or clout, but it is bizarre how well at least the Venom movies have been doing. I mean, if you ask Sony, I guess they also thought people loved Morbius because they re-released it over memes.
Because of memes.
Oh my god. That was the most bizarre thing that has maybe ever happened in superhero movie history.
Oh man. I still find the Morbius memes really funny myself.
It really is saying something.
Yeah. Like the meme of Morbius that like Sony just like someone told a executive on a lot of drugs that Morbius was trending online and there were lots of memes, but they didn't see the memes because the memes are all about how Morbius is a terrible movie and nobody wants to see it. So they re-released the movie and they thought people would go to see it because it had memes. That's as far as they thought about it, and no one went to see it because it's terrible.
That reminds me of Snakes on a Plane. It got huge on the internet and then nobody went to see it.
Well, of course, yeah.
Samuel Jackson was baffled.
That's not the same thing with Morbius, though, because what happened with Morbius was it had a weirdly okay opening weekend, and then it had a bigger drop-off than BVS. You don't re-release a movie in the theater that had an 80% drop-off between the first and second week!
The first release was a mulligan.
That's not what you do! What? Because in that case, well, I know what Dan's going to say. He's going to say they're not thinking anything. But what I was going to say is, in that case, you have to be like, what could you possibly be thinking? The only way you would re-release a movie that didn't do all that well is, word of mouth got around, it's doing well on video or whatever. Now, and I know it wasn't on video yet, but like that's the only way I could see that happening. Where it's like, people missed this movie, they missed a total boat on it, and suddenly people are loving it. They're raving about how good it is now that they've seen it on video. Then I could see an argument for you put it like real limited release. Maybe a Fathom thing, or maybe just a weekend-wide release for all the people that loved it and want to go see it. That's not what happened with Morbius. It had an okay first weekend, and then everybody hated it.
Yeah,
most people hated it.
Also, why do they have the power to do this? Like, why did the theaters agree to this? They're like, no, it didn't make any money when we were wasting screens on it before.
Why would that godforsaken piece back
Why would
here?
we play it again?
You know why? Because some
Studios
executive,
so
again, on a lot of drugs, was probably like, you don't get the new Ghostbusters movie if you don't show Morbius again, AMC, or whatever theater chain they're talking to at the time, you know?
Yeah, it was probably sad. It's probably they were probably pressured into it, or like forced to do it, like the Infinity War re-release or whatever.
Is that movie executive villain from the 1920s or something?
I mean, kind of, yeah.
Well,
Sony does it a lot.
I think it was Mirror Universe Stan Lee, actually.
Okay.
Has the Spider-Man one happened yet? Has the No Way Home
I don't
re-release?
think that's happened yet.
I don't know.
I think it's about to.
That's a good question.
They're releasing like a director's cut. It's probably like Electro with like 3 extra minutes of riffing.
I don't want to go on principle, and not just for the reasons I know you guys don't want to go, because like, you know, new scenes, people are probably going to want to know what I think about it. I'll watch them when they come out later. I probably won't go to the theater to see that. The main reason is I just can't deal with what they called it. That is so
What they call it?
to me. They call however dumb you think it might be, it's worse, Dan. They called it the More Fun Stuff Edition.
What
sounds
generic name?
I don't think I could pay money to see a movie called that.
Are they just picking
I mean,
words at random,
It
like
fits the movie.
They may have well just called it Gorge on More Popcorn, you slob. Come to our movie.
That's why I'm resisting seeing it, because I feel like that's
On
what I'm being
principle.
told. The subtitle might as well been well, you're coming, right?
No, they might as well have just called it Spider-Man. Let's push it over the 2 billion mark, please, because it's at 1.9 billion right now, and they just want to. They just want to make 2 billion.
Yeah, we're the ones that aren't allowed
for more money.
We're the ones that aren't allowed to come home. They're keeping us in the movie theater.
That's hilarious. There's no way home.
There's no way home.
You're trapped.
It's a labyrinth.
Dan, about Morbius, I have this really bizarre conundrum, which is, as horrible as that movie is, there's a part of me that has been almost seriously considering buying the Steelbook. And the reason is because there's a Steelbook for that movie.
Dude, there were some really interesting like Morbius product tie-ins, because it was clearly like Sony, like, whoever would take our license, please make Morbius products for us. And there was like Morbius G Fuel, like that gamer fuel. It's just like, come on, dude, like nobody's gonna buy your Morbius G Fuel shaker. Like,
what kind of product could you put that on that would be appropriate and people would want to buy it? Like, even if the movie was great, that doesn't seem like product tie-in material to me, really. Like, I mean, maybe as much as anything else. I don't know, but like,
this is the same company
it's a horror
that
film before it's anything. So it's like, you know, are people buying like Halloween cereal? Yeah, Halloween Kills the cereal.
I mean,
I don't know.
if it's called Evil Dies Tonightos, I'd buy it.
I'd buy it too. I'd buy it to keep the box.
I mean, this is the same company that like put out a Ghostbusters edition without the like 2016 one, and then like Paul Feig screamed on Twitter that he got slimed at the Nickelodeon Kids' Choice Awards for that movie, and they put it in afterwards. Like, Sony doesn't know what they're doing.
They
don't know.
They made it a digital only release. You know what though? I'm actually going to take up for Sony slightly on that.
Yeah.
So hear me out for a second, Dan.
Mm-hmm.
The only person that cared that wasn't on that collection was Paul Feig. Like,
yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Sony knew exactly what they were doing. They weren't gonna sell one fewer copy without that movie. They might have sold less if they put it in there.
Yeah, no kidding.
No, they knew exactly what they were. Sony was right about that. I'm behind them on that. That was the right choice, Sony.
Amy Pascal in a drug-fueled haze is right once a day.
A year, maybe. Although if you were saying, like, why would you even try to put it in retroactively, I agree with you. That's pretty silly.
Yeah. I think it was just like a digital code, too. Because it was too far in production that they couldn't change the packaging, which is even funnier.
Which I don't mean to pretend like I know everything and I can, like, read in everybody's minds. Not one person redeemed that code. Right? Like, anybody that wants that movie has it already. Like, not one person redeemed that code.
I don't know.
You think anybody found out after the fact? You think they even knew? They bought this thing? It's like, how did they get the memo? I now own the code for Ghostbusters 2016 because I bought a thing that doesn't have the disc. Now I can redeem it? Just get an email?
If it came with, like, another Papa John's ad coupon that was included with when you, like, redeem the movie, maybe, but, you know, by itself, who knows?
I hated those codes for digital copies and stuff like that. I couldn't stand them.
Get a cheesy burger?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, we have got to finish the show out. DJ, how many more super chats do we have?
You don't want to know.
150. Okay, go ahead. Dan, if you need to go to bed, feel free to get going at any time. I totally understand.
I will stay around for a little while.
Oh, thanks, buddy. Appreciate it.
Right. We have yet another $10 super chat from Roger Lee, everyone.
Goodness, thanks, Roger.
If you want the superhero genre to end, just don't watch the superhero genre. Problem solved. Superheroes are a very minimal percentage of the movies and TV streaming shows that are out there to enjoy.
Agree or disagree about the volume of things that aren't either superhero movies or trying to be superhero movies, but I agree with you. I don't watch any of the Marvel products anymore. So I am following your advice, and they are still the majority of the things that are being produced by Hollywood, and I'd like that to change. Sorry.
See, but I feel like when you're someone like Cap, who's in the business of doing that stuff, if you were of the mind of Dan, then you would need it to do that before, because your business model is still saturated with that stuff.
I feel like I get a pass to some degree, you know? First of all, I am still seeing things here and there that I am enjoying, and sometimes I wish things were a lot better. That has also always been the case to some degree. I have seen some things that Dan hasn't that I liked a lot that he may or may not. So, I mean, like, Dan's not going with 100% percentage. Like, he's seen every single thing and he's going, it's all bad. He doesn't know. There are things he hasn't seen, but he's choosing not to watch them. That's his prerogative. But I mean, like, this is what I do. People want to hear me talk about this stuff, and if it got to the point where I was so burnt out on it that I had to decide to do this or something else, then I guess, you know, I crossed that bridge when I came to it. But I talk as much or more retro than I talk about new, and there's still a lot of old superhero movies I haven't talked about, and that is still fun for me, and, like, superheroes
that might be your saving grace.
It's still one of my big things, so, like, yeah, I'm not ready to hang it up yet. Like, I've had, like I've been pretty, transparent about this. I've had periods where I've been kind of depressed about the state of it, and I've gone, I don't know if I should keep going just because people are going to have to tune in and just listen to me complain a lot.
Right, that's the new stuff's going to get old eventually, and then you'll have to get to it.
Or even if I'm okay with it, it does become a matter of, well, I'm not going to pull my punches. I'm not going to pretend like I like a thing that I don't, just so that you know, everybody's having a good time. Like, I do my best to keep it as light as I can. But if I don't like something, I'm going to tell you I don't like it.
The dark side of Geek.
And I will say that's part of why sometimes I don't watch everything right when it comes out, especially on the TV side. Movie side, I still have been seeing everything. I don't want to see Love and Thunder. I don't mind coming out and saying that. I don't want to. I'm still not sure what I'm going to do with that, if I'm actually reviewing that the week it comes out or not. Because I just don't want to see that movie. It doesn't. I didn't like the last one. It looks like more of the same. I don't want to see that movie. But, like, but I'm also trying not to be cynical about it, and Dan, I'm not saying this with any disrespect or anything, but occasionally I'll try out a thing that I did not want to see just because I know I'm gonna probably have to talk about it eventually, or people are asking me what I think about it, and sometimes I'm pleasantly surprised. I'm like, Did I finish the 3rd episode? I'm like 2.5 episodes into Miss Marvel. It's a thing I had no interest in whatsoever. It's fine. I'm kind of enjoying it. Like, you know, not this like glowing recommendation or anything, but like,
it's fine.
It's fine. It's a TV show. It's not. It doesn't have all this padding that a lot of these things have. It doesn't want to be a movie. It wants to be a TV show. I have a lot of respect for that. She's not irritating, and I found Miss Marvel annoying in things like the Avengers video game. She's not like that. She's still got the fangirl thing, and I don't hate her. It's a high school drama. It's kind of like Homecoming if it was a TV show, which is nice because that's what it should be. Her parents are kind of fun. Like, I'll hate it. Like, it's fine. It's watchable.
Yeah, I need to check that out because that's how I felt about Hawkeye. I was like, yeah, I enjoyed that. I'm glad I watched that. I probably won't go back to it a bunch, maybe because it's Christmassy, but yeah, I was like, yeah, that was fun.
I liked the Moon Knight show. That was the last Marvel product that I consumed, and I thought it was pretty good.
And I haven't even started that one.
It. I tried. I like middle of the 2nd episode. I still haven't finished it. I was just bored. I don't know. I couldn't get into it.
That's fair.
I didn't have an opinion. I was just like, this is not holding my attention.
Let me see. 559. 5590 ERS.
Yeah.
Can I call him 5590 ERS? It's a little easier to say. I guess it's too late now.
You know what? You say whatever you want to. It's totally cool. He knows who he is. I let them call you whatever they want to, DJ. So.
Yeah, you do you. Don't let me, butchering of your name, offend you in any way. He wants to know more shocking moments in comics, in your opinion, Bane breaking Batman's back in Nightfall, or Doomsday killing Superman in Death of Superman.
Okay, so this is an impossible question for me to answer because I think it kind of depends on what you knew about first, at least when you go back to the day, like if you were around when it was happening. Like, I think it's hard to be shocked, or at least as shocked by the Bane backbreak thing when you already had Death of Superman. Because, like, to some degree, even though, like, I like that material, I think it's really good, to some degree, even I as a kid was thinking, like, okay, they just did this because they killed off Superman, right? Which is not exactly what happened, but it does kind of feel like that, where it's like, okay, we're in this, like, gritty period for DC, and we gotta, like, kill off characters or, you know, mortally wound them, and then, you know, it takes a while for them to come back from it and all of that. But also, it's difficult to be shocked by things that you know are coming, because those kinds of things, even back then, never just happen in a comic where you flip a page and, oh my god, it's... You always know about it 6 months ahead of time. Like, everybody knew Superman was going to die with that Superman was 75. That's why it sold so many copies. Like, they telegraphed it. They told everybody that was coming. Same thing with the Bane backbreak. Like, we all knew that was coming. So in some ways, you can't be shocked by it.
The big reveal is their advertisement at that point.
Yeah, so, like, that's maybe shocking when you first find out about it. But shocking in a different kind of way. Because it's not within a narrative.
And then you're anticipating, you know, getting it. So it heightens the... you know, expectation a little bit.
So, like, I would have to guess at what the experience would be like if I was a kid or something years later, finding it on my own somehow. Like, which of them I would you know, feel more shocking. Probably the Bane backbreak, honestly. But, I don't know. It's hard to have that perspective because I grew up with it.
I have not read Nightfall, so my default answer is the Death of Superman.
Which you were not shocked by at all because you were reading a book called... The Death of Superman.
Oh my
exactly.
God.
So I was more shocked by that just by virtue of having read it than Nightfall, which I have not experienced. So
I can't believe Superman dies in that book.
Well, and it would be impossible being a comic fan to walk into that, finally reading it, Dan, not more or less knowing what happens, right? Like,
yeah, exactly. Like, isn't the cover of the trade paperbacks for Nightfall like Bane breaking Batman's back now?
Yeah, and the cover for a lot of the Death of Superman trades is Lois holding his broken body. Like,
yeah, exactly. Yeah,
they're somewhat similar images in a weird way. One is like, I'm trying to kill you, and one is, oh no, you're dead. But they're both like, but you know, DC has a long track record of like character draped, like tragically draped over somebody's two arms, right? Like, we do that a lot, you know.
That was a thing that Marvel did with the death of Captain Marvel, the first Captain Marvel too.
I guess that's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
But, like, I think all of that is, whether it's doing it intentionally or not, is homaging Death of Supergirl to some degree, right? Like, it's all that
You might be right.
Or, because even Death in the Family is that.
I'm not sure when the death of Captain Marvel happened, because he died of cancer in the Avengers, but I don't know. So that may not be a homage, depending on when it happened, but it could. But I'm just not sure about
79 or 80.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
We could look it up, but I don't have internet.
I think
Go ahead,
you killed
DJ.
me with that.
I have internet, and I have questions. Senior Sticks, $2. Who is the Hawkeye of Geekvolution?
Who's good at aiming and shooting things with a bow and arrow or otherwise?
I'm a
Because
nerd, so
I
it's
got
not
no
me.
I got no depth perception, so it's not me.
I mean, I'm nimble on the violin with my fingers, but I can't aim for.
Yeah,
S.
could you shoot that bow though? It's really.
Actually, I mean, I'm probably away, but
I thought he was talking about more like the one who doesn't do anything and just kind of like is there
Oh,
and
that's
just
clearly Brandon.
shows up.
I do something.
Well, so does Hawkeye. He just has a bow and arrow, and then says, "I just have bow and arrow." This doesn't make any sense.
I mean, every once in a while, I say something that comes out intelligible and intelligent.
I mean, there's so many ways we could take it. Who is ill-equipped to be in all of the situations that he's in?
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of different ways you can take it. If it's who wears the most purple, then I'm the Hawkeye.
Yes.
There you go.
I don't have a lot of purple.
What about you, Dan? Are you good at aiming things?
I've shot guns before, and I was okay when I did that, but I'm not like a gun enthusiast or anything.
You better be good at
And I've
aiming
shot
laws
bow and arrows
criminals.
before too. When I was a kid, there was a kid that lived next to us that had like a hunting bow that we would like shoot in the woods. Probably like super dangerous. We shouldn't have been doing it, but it was really fun.
Those things are super sharp.
Can we do a whole show on just stuff Dan did as a child that he probably shouldn't have done?
Oh,
I mean,
it's a lot.
I could add to that too.
How long is that show?
Longer than this one, probably.
Oh man, I'm so much more interested in that than anything else people are going to ask about right now. We can talk about Dan's old cigar smoking days.
Yeah, those were the days.
That's what Dan most misses about the days when the geek stuff wasn't as popular. Was just cigar smoking.
Yep.
2008, Dan.
Yep. When I was degenerately harming my health, those were the days.
I was worried for a second that I was like outing you for something, but I'm pretty sure you brought this up on camera.
No, yeah, I mean, and I wouldn't care anyway.
That's good. Well, I don't want to be a jerk face or anything. I don't know.
No,
No
of
more
course.
than you already are. Just kidding.
I don't want to be a jerk face to Dan.
Oh, qualifiers. See, it all
Brandon's
comes down to
just
the
like,
qualifier.
screw you.
And see, what's so counterintuitive about this shtick I do with Brandon is he's the one person that's in the room. Like, he could punch me in the face if he didn't like a thing I was saying. You know, you'd think I'd be mean to somebody remote that can't do anything about
That's all
it.
the internet is about, is being mean to someone from behind a wall.
Yeah. But I'm only
Here, you just
intentionally
can
mean to
just-
you, and you're here.
I know.
I don't know why I do that.
I don't know why I keep coming back.
I will personally make the thumbnail
That's a
with
mystery.
if you punch Cap in the face, because that would be great and everybody would want to watch that
Yeah,
episode.
you have to make it an homage to that famous like Captain America cover where he's punching out Hitler.
I was thinking a 60s Batman thing with the POW effect.
Yeah.
That's good
That'd be
too.
There you go.
That's good too.
We
Was it
can do
Captain
some
America or was it
tests.
Superman?
We can do some test stuff.
Yeah. Well, if we're gonna hype it up, like, yeah, we'll do some press
We'll
for
make
it.
some panels.
People
just
can know it's coming, so they can be there
like
live. for it.
Batman level POW panels type stuff.
Right, and then somebody will leave a super chat the next week and be
punch.
like, "How shocking was that?" And be like, "It wasn't. It was in the title. Like everyone knew it was
You can
coming."
even put on your bat suit for it.
That's a good idea. Are you gonna be Bane?
I know. Well, we can figure something out.
Okay. This is getting elaborate very quickly. We need to stop announcing things. Go ahead, DJ.
All right, Senior Sticks, another $2. How
Yeah.
about a Thor Corp movie and/or series?
Thor Corp? I'm not sure what that is. Like, is that another thing we did in the comics? Because everything has to have a core.
It's the best team ever. That's what it is.
Yeah, with respect, I don't know if you're joking or not, but no, I don't want that. To Dan's point earlier, I'm tired of everything having to be a team movie, and like I'm fine with some team movies. Like I've been won over on them because I was exactly like Dan. Like growing up, I didn't like team things. I never read the Avengers. I did not care. But and I liked X-Men stuff, but I had like the characters I gravitated toward. So like I liked Wolverine more than as a kid, more than the X-Men as a whole. Like I liked reading his solo stuff more than I liked reading X-Men stories as a kid.
I only read the X-Men because there were like so many characters that I liked in them that didn't have regular solo series, like Cyclops and Nightcrawler, and like some of those characters, like they're all awesome and I love those characters. And like, Wolverine's awesome too. I love Wolverine, and he got his own series and stuff. I would have read a solo Cyclops book if they did it, But
yeah, like so many things, he just got miniseries. And there were two miniseries in the 70s or 80s with him and Jean Grey, I think.
You may be right.
He also only got mini movies.
I'm pretty sure I own those. But yeah, I mean, I came to X-Men because of the cartoon show, so like that was X-Men to me. In some ways, it still is. But yeah.
Oh yeah.
And now you can go back to the cartoon show, 2024, whenever it's coming back.
I hope that turns out okay. I'm leery of it, certainly, but I hope it turns out okay. Because, I mean, like, those guys have wanted to come back forever and get to make more seasons. Like, in some ways, it's not necessarily going to be the same thing as so much of this, like, nostalgia grab nonsense. Like, it's those guys, and they've wanted to do this forever. But sometimes you're not in the same place you were, and you don't know how to do that stuff again. So I'm afraid it'll be too self-aware and stuff, but...
As long as it's as good as Bruce Timm's return with his Harley Quinn movie, then I'm fine.
I think there's going to be a diminishing return for people with the 90s X-Men show, where, like, I love the 90s X-Men show, but it's not as good as everyone remembers it being if you go back and watch it. It doesn't hold up as well as, like, the animated DC stuff from that era.
No, absolutely. That stuff is more timeless. Some of it isn't. I mean, it's all good, but, like, some of it feels more of a product of its time. Like, Batman animated series just feels like it was made out of time in some ways. Like, that doesn't feel like a 90s thing. It's just, but, like, Justice League, it's good, but it feels like a 2000 show.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like,
Batman did.
Do you make X-Men do you make it good now, or do you make it like it was, and then people are like, oh wow, this...
I don't know. I see both sides to that, and that's why I'm leery of trying to bring it back, and that's why I say I'm worried it'll be too self-aware, because I'm afraid what it'll do is it'll come back and try to be bad in the way that show sometimes was, and I don't think you can do that consciously. I don't think you can do it on purpose. Like, some of the things that happened with that show were because of time constraints and stuff that they probably won't have this time. So, like, you can't force that stuff.
I don't know. Disney Plus has nothing but time constraints on their content, so maybe they will have the same.
Maybe they will have that, yeah. I would much prefer to see them, like, make it the same continuity, same voices as much as they can, kind of that flavor, but, like, let it be a little modern. Like, I think the smart thing would be to not try to make it exactly the same show. And like, that could be scary too. I don't know, but like, I liked the comic series that did that. I mean, it was precisely that, where it was those designs and it was more or less that continuity, but it wasn't trying too hard to be told like those stories. It was a little bit more modern. I guess we'll see what it does, but I'm interested. I hope it's good. I really do.
I don't envy those creators, because that seems kind of like an impossible task.
Yeah, exactly.
Chewbacca's Lover, $2. I don't know if this is an intentional or just a hilarious typo, but he says Dan Torrey's impression of Hemsworth is accurate.
Hemsworth.
Hemsworth.
What a name.
Yeah, he liked your impression there. And then Chewbacca's Lover with another one, $5. I'm gonna say it.
Thanks, man.
I miss 2000s superhero films. They weren't perfect, but did a lot of things better. They did things MCU just can't do. Am I crazy?
Well, it depends on which films we're talking about, but no, you're not. There are definitely examples where it's like, wow, now that it's so mainstream, I don't know that you'll ever get back to that again. I'm not throwing out any examples because we don't have time.
Keep it short and sweet.
Bob the Hun. LOL. Dan is a Moreland fan. Ha 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 ha. Moreland sucks.
Well, wow.
I just don't think you've read the first arc of JMS's run, sir, because that arc is awesome.
He wrote out his villain laugh. Yeah, like, I don't like Moreland because of later stuff, but, like, I never finished JMS's run. Like, I just think it's so funny. He's just like, Dan, you're just wrong.
Moreland sucks, according to Bob the Hun. All right, Chewbacca's Lover, $5. Even though No Way Home doesn't hold up, I enjoyed it because it felt like the only film in a long time made for me. MCU is all made for TikTok Zoomers.
But I can see the argument being made that movie kind of is also.
Yeah, I don't know what he's talking about in that regard. Doctor Strange tells Spider-Man to go Scooby-Doo something in that movie. Like,
Scooby-Doo this crap.
Oh, dear.
Yeah, Brandon. Oh, dear.
But I'm glad you enjoyed the movie. I don't mean to rain on your parade in that regard. I'm glad you enjoyed it more than some of the other MCU movies that are made for that crowd.
Another one from Bob the Hun. Brandon is Ezra Miller in disguise. He's
God,
high.
Don't say that. That's not cool. That's not cool.
Brandon is Ezra Miller in disguise. He's high and going to snap your neck after the stream ends. Don't end the stream if you want to wake up tomorrow.
Oh.
Wow.
Oh, dear.
These super chats are getting salty. Hey, Dan, I have a question for you. Because I'm stuck on the Moreland thing because for years I've been like, I hate, but it's because of this of the stupid stuff that Dan Slott did with him, and that's how I was introduced to that character.
Oh yeah, I mean anything Dan Slott does is terrible.
Not anything, but a lot of it, and like the Spider-Verse was obnoxious just with the whole like him and his cronies traveling the multiverse to kill off spider people, and like eat their souls or whatever. But like, do you think I would be won over on the totem idea if I finished JMS? Because I always just disliked that as a concept, and I need to finish that run because I wonder if I can be won over on it.
How far into it did you get?
Couple trades, I think.
I would read JMS's run up until... I'm trying to think if there's a good stopping point. I mean, JMS's run is really weird in the sense that it's like one of the best Spider-Man runs of all time, in my opinion, but there are like some of the worst Spider-Man arcs in it because of editorial stuff.
Yep. But like, do you read up to One More Day, or do you jump off even before that?
I would read up until One More Day as long as you're fine with some of the arcs being terrible. Like Sins Past is kind of smack dab in the middle of it, which is the arc where they reveal when Gwen went to Europe, she had a secret affair with Norman Osborn and had twin children. And that's terrible. And then the stuff with Civil War gets weird because that's when Spider-Man becomes an Avenger for the first time. And like as a concept, I'm like, I'm not really into that. But it's only for like they don't deal with that stuff like for most of it's only like a one arc thing. There's a weird crossover event called The One, which is like all about the totem stuff, and it's basically like an excuse for Spider-Man to go into a big cocoon and have like spikes grow out of his hands like Wolverine claws that are like spider talons, and he gets the organic web shooters from the Raimi movies.
Wow,
so that's really weird too. So there's like weird stuff in it, but like there's also great stuff too.
Yeah. Well, hey, Ultimate's got its missteps, man. Like there's whole arcs in that where I'm just like.
Yeah. Like the Carnage one.
I like that better than you do, but it's not great. There's worse stuff though. The Deadpool arc is awful.
Well, it's got Deadpool in it. Yeah, obviously.
That's not why it's awful. I mean, the way he's reinvented is terrible, but the writing in that is weird. And no, it's bad.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it would be any better necessarily if it was regular Deadpool, but the way they changed him was bizarre. Like he's even. I don't know. There's nothing interesting about that at all. Anyway, and it's so wordy. Like, if I have to, read a thing that I'm already not into, I don't want it to be a chore where it's got 95 times more words than normal.
Bendis has the best words. He's putting all the best words in Deadpool's
As soon as he
mouth.
goes to his Trump impression, we have to move on. Go ahead, DJ.
Snuffles writes.
Oh, hi, Snuffles!
Snuffles
I haven't seen her in a
Hey.
while. What's going on?
Well, I'll tell you what's going on. She is playing the Guardian, or maybe not, but she wants to know if anyone has played the Guardians game.
So,
I have.
Austin has and loved it.
You and Austin were playing that for a while.
He sent
Dan.
me that game months ago, and I still haven't had a chance to start playing it.
Are you gonna do a Cat Can't Play?
I've thought about it, possibly, but then I'm like committing to a series of those. I don't really have time for that. Dan, what did you think of that game?
I have not finished it. I have. I got maybe like 2, 3 or 4 levels, something like that, into it, and it was really good. But I got it around the holidays when it came out, and there was a lot of other games that I was playing at the time, and I got distracted and haven't went back to it yet. But I plan to, because it was really good. What I played of it, I thought it was a great sort of amalgam of what they do in the movies with them, like in terms of Peter Quill having a lot of the same attributes that the Peter Quill of the movies have, but also like making it more of a comic booky Guardians thing, which I thought was cool. So yeah, I really enjoyed what I played of it, but I have not finished it.
Yeah, I keep forgetting about it. Every time it comes up, I'm like, oh yeah, I want to play that. And then
It's
some,
cool.
and then some cool new retro thing with the kinds of games I usually play comes out, and I get distracted. You know, like the
Yeah.
because it's so funny. Like I get really sick of a lot of retro throwback stuff that we're doing in other media, but in video games, a lot of it that's been aimed at me has been fantastic. Like you got the House of the Dead remake, which is really good. I wish they'd put a freaking gun on the Switch. It's weird to have to play that with a controller, but it's really good. And then Shredder's Revenge was great, and we streamed that last
That
week. And
game is awesome.
it's awesome. And Sonic Origins is a mixed bag, but it's still worth playing. I don't know if it's $45 good, but
I still have not picked that up. I plan to at some point. I might wait till it goes on sale because I own all of those games on my Xbox digitally already, except for Sonic 3. So I'm like, is it worth it for me to pay $45 for Sonic 3? Probably not.
if you just want it as a collection to have another way to play those games, I would wait to have it on sale. What makes it more worth it to me, and some people have been like lukewarm or unhappy with the different modes, but like if you want it for different game types and stuff, it's kind of like I love Blue Spheres, and they've got a new mode for that, and it's cool to get to play new levels for that.
I do want to get it to be able to play the earlier games with Knuckles. That sounds like a cool thing too.
Yeah, and that's nice. And I mean, other games have done that before, but not recently. So like, you know, you have to go back to like GameCube or something. And even that, I'm not sure if that let you do it with one. I can't remember. Maybe it didn't. But then I don't know. There's mirror mode, which lets you play levels backwards, which is kind of a fun novelty. And,
That's cool.
And then there's a whole mission mode with kind of redesigned levels around different kinds of objectives, and it's fun to finally have that in Sonic.
You showed me a little bit of that the other day. That was cool.
And just being able to play Sonic CD. Did I? Oh yeah, you were over there. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
And then just having Sonic CD on the Switch at all is really nice. But yeah.
Nice.
But
All right.
there were some unfortunate corners that got cut, and the developers are not real happy with it because Sega cut them off before they were ready to put it out. Sega has this weird obsession. Like, I streamed it the other day and didn't have anything negative to say about it, and then I learned more things about it, and I was like, oh, there's some unfortunate stuff that happened with this. Sega has this weird obsession with things coming up on anniversaries of things that nobody else seems to care about. So like they rushed it out because that was the day of a big Sonic anniversary, and everybody was like, if it wasn't finished, why didn't you delay it? Nobody cares about that.
Yeah, it's funny that they don't care at all about releasing games when the movies are in theaters. But they get so caught up about weird anniversaries. That's really weird.
Arbitrary anniversary date, yeah.
Shall we get to the hard-hitting question from Bag Studios?
Yes, we've got to finish the show. Oh my god.
Bag Studios, why is the sky green?
That is a Bag Studios question. I think it's because of smog. It's the desolation of smog.
Jeez.
That's what that was called, right?
Yeah. Good job.
Yeah.
I think the sky is green because Disney released that terrible Obi-Wan show.
I think this guy is green because you're colorblind.
Oh, that's probably why.
Learn your colors. Come on. This is kindergarten stuff.
Brandon hates the disabled. We've talked about this before.
I'm having this thing more and more with some of these Disney Plus shows, damn, where I have no opinion. Like, I got to the third episode of Obi-Wan and was like, this is really bad. There's something about the way that Vader fight is shot in that I hated. And then I, for some reason, decided to keep watching it. And then by the end, I was like, I have no idea what I think of the show.
I dropped off 2 episodes in because it was horrible. But yeah. Hopefully Mandalorian's not bad.
I didn't think it was horrible. I just didn't know what to think of it. Which I don't usually have with stuff. I'm usually really opinionated.
Would you rather have something that you don't like, that you're nonplussed by, or something that you're completely, your opinion is absolute, like it's trash?
You know, I'd almost rather that second thing, just because if I ever go back to it, I'm sure a second or third watch, I'll have a more definitive opinion. And then if I don't like it, I'm just wasting my time. You know?
Sure.
But at least you can get a good video out of hating something.
It's the circle of hate.
Yeah, I don't want to make my life all about that. Anyway.
Bob the Hun, $5. The
Thanks,
Image
Bob
guys trashed Nightfall and Death of Superman as gimmicky and desperate. Both stories are better remembered than anything they produced.
Well, yeah.
Well, they were also more popular than anything they produced, too, like, besides Spawn.
It helps that, like, you know, those stories came from the two, you know, a company that's half of the duopoly of the comic book industry.
Yeah, exactly.
Of course.
But you are right in the sense that there was a lot of, like, kind of nonsensical weirdness that came out of the early days of Image. But I mean, there's also some pretty decent stuff that people just haven't gone back to. Like, the early Witchblade stuff is decent. It's, I mean, admittedly, especially with covers, like too much TNA and whatever, but like there's some decent storytelling there. And then the Darkness I still like quite a bit. Like, there's some pretty good stuff going on back then. But
I've heard Savage Dragon's good, but I have never read it.
The only Savage Dragon I've ever looked at is when it crossed into Spawn. I had to talk about that during the Spawn year. There are 2 episodes of Spawn here about Savage Dragon because of that.
All right, we got 2 more. We can do this, guys.
Oh.
Hey.
Bob the Hun, $5. You still haven't posted the Ultimate Spider-Man reviews you did with Eric. The Deadpool arc you've read isn't on the channel. You need to finally post it.
I'm trying to decide if I'm going to respond to that. You're not. I guess I have to. You're not going to like me over this. I'm sorry. You're never going to see them. I know it sucks. I wish we'd never shot those. Eric doesn't want to be public anymore. Like, he doesn't want his face on camera. I'm sure I'm sure if I messaged him and was like, hey, we saw these videos, you're okay if I post them, he'd probably be okay. But the problem is, if I put up the rest of it, people are just gonna beg me to get him to come back and do more. I don't mean to say I don't want Eric on the channel. If Eric wanted to be on the channel, I would love to have Eric on the channel. But with things as they are right now, I don't want Eric on the channel, because if I put out more Eric videos, people are just going to constantly harass me about him and trying to get him back. Like, I'm finally a few months out from not getting as much of that. And like, for a long time, I was just constantly, it was a constant barrage of like, where's Eric? Get him back. And I'm like, I can't control the man. If he doesn't want to be on camera, he's not going to be on camera. Like,
people did the same thing for Vince when he left.
Like people move on. This is a job for me. It wasn't for these guys. And Eric is trying to break into some writing avenues. He doesn't want. He just doesn't want to be public anymore.
Now, if I left the channel, you'd have no problem. Nobody's going to be clamoring for me.
Yeah, I mean,
Brandon,
we'd have.
You have your
party.
diehards. You have diehards.
Oh,
Brandon.
man, pizza without me?
Yeah.
Darn.
So no, I hate that. I feel weird about it, but like, they take time to edit, and and he doesn't want to be on camera. Like, it's a lot of work for me with a thing that's gonna be really awkward to do. And we're like 100% live now. Like, there's a lot of reasons that I haven't done that. And yeah, I know I'm gonna get a lot of crap for this, but like, it just doesn't make sense to put them out now. I would like to finish that series at some point, but I would have to like redo the ones that we shot already with somebody else, if I ever did it. So I don't know.
Blur his face and morph his voice.
I was not prepared to answer this. I've said more than I should, but that's the reason I haven't. Anyway.
Well, the truth.
Well, this is gonna be not as exciting of an ending as that would have been, but Chewbacca's Lover, $2. This is the last super chat I got, guys.
You had the power to reverse them. You really did.
Strike that. Reverse it.
Chewbacca's Lover. Dan's Trump sounds like Marlon Brando from Superman.
It does. I've always thought that.
Well, thank you very much.
And that's all I got, folks.
We had a very serious conversation with Brando, and we said, "Why are you copying me?"
It's a weird place that.
Doesn't make any sense.
Of course it doesn't. It's that guy.
I love that. That's fantastic.
It's so fantastic, in fact.
Alex Barron says, we'd riot if Brandon left. Geekvolution would go to 0 subscribers.
You're too kind. Lies.
You just keep telling him that, yeah.
Well, words appreciated, even if it is the untruth.
I still want to know how we're broadcasting when I have no internet.
I want to know that too, because it clearly says no internet. It's not even like a 404 error. You remember those?
I guess, to be fair, like, I guess my icon in the corner says I'm connected, but
I
for some
thought you
reason
said earlier
Chrome
that
was not connected,
also said
so...
it wasn't connected.
No, but I mean, I've kept trying to refresh this, and it's not working. Yeah.
Oh, no.
Browser error.
There's another super chat.
One more super chat while we were rambling about internet. Could you make... Oh, this is Chewbacca's Lover, $5. Could you make the ultimate Oh, sorry, it's about that again.
I figured, yeah.
I guess I have to read it.
Yeah.
Could you make the Ultimate Spider-Man reviews a Patreon exclusive with a note that this is the end of Eric's arc?
I did not ask you that question.
I don't know. I haven't decided what I'm doing with that, if anything, and I'm not prepared to talk about it, so I don't know. I'm not sure, guys.
The pressure's on, Cap. Make a decision right now.
I just don't
Announce it. Announce it.
I just don't know if I want to go that far, because again, I'm gonna get harassed about Eric not being on the channel, and like, and the other thing is, like,
people really like come out of the woodwork to like yell at you to put Eric on the channel. Is that a thing?
Yeah.
Oh
yeah,
no!
I get
it's the internet. There's no stone unturned on the internet.
Well, and I'm not. I'm not calling out any one person in particular or anything, and I get that, and I mean, I get why.
It's just a
I mean, like,
phenomenon.
people obviously really like Eric, and they miss him, and they wish he had his own channel, and they wish he hadn't taken his videos down. So, like, Geekvolution is the only place to go back and even hear Eric talking, because he took all of his own videos down, and so, like, people miss him solo. There were folks that subscribed to us when he became a regular that didn't care about me, so they had to listen to me talking when they wanted to hear Eric. And now that's really the only way to hear Eric, for the most part, is also interrupted by me constantly. So, so like, I get it, and it's totally understandable.
That's really your MO.
That people feel that way, but I don't want. Part of it is I don't want to disappoint people. I don't want people to think, oh, he's putting stuff back out with Eric, like maybe he'll come back. Even on Patreon, I'm just afraid that would happen.
Well, what about the disclaimer option?
And also, like, I realize that we're broadcasting way too late tonight, but like my time is still somewhat limited with the twins and stuff, and I don't, even on Patreon, I would kind of hate to just post those without images. Because like we talk about specific images and stuff, and that's in the old format where I kind of meticulously edited them, and I would have to go back in and see if there's any places with like giant dead air or stuff. Like, I would have to edit them, and I don't have time to do that. So that's why we're all live now. Like, I don't have time to edit. So I don't know.
Just put a disclaimer at the beginning that says, "Hello, I'm Captain Logan. I'd like to inform you that Eric will not be returning to the channel despite these videos that have been posted on Patreon. If you send any messages to me, I will nuke you from orbit. I hope you enjoy the video.
This is all raw footage. I have no idea what's in it. There could be 10 minutes of dead air. I don't know what it is.
Yeah, exactly.
I like that idea, Dan.
I could have gone upstairs to have a granola bar.
You don't know. I could have been in the bathroom for 5 minutes. You don't know.
I just watched your Ninja Turtles game stream today. That's why that was fresh in my mind.
Did
Yeah, you went upstairs and you forgot to mute, so it was like ring as you walked up the stairs to get your granola bar. It just made me chuckle.
That sounds like something I would do.
I like that stream though. I really want to get that game. I wish if you guys play that again, I definitely want to join you guys because that looks like a ton of fun. Is it a 4-player?
Yeah.
Oh, I gotta get that.
Yeah, we should.
But you be. Let's do it.
It's 6-player, in fact.
Oh wow.
Oh, it is 6. Yep. That's right.
Yep.
We could do all 4 turtles.
A video game.
Although I'd have to fight someone for Donatello. That probably wouldn't happen.
So it's not. I want to say that there were some arcade beat 'em ups that were 6. I know there were some 8.
The X-Men one was I
it
think,
6?
Right?
I couldn't remember if it was 6 or 8. I think it was 6.
I think it's 6. Yeah.
But yeah, they added April and Splinter as playable. No,
Casey.
No, Casey.
Oh.
No, they have all 3 of those.
Oh, do they? I thought it was just the
yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so Casey, April, and Splinter are in it.
Oh.
So are there more than?
I knew that because you unlock Casey at the end.
Characters?
That's what I was confused about. You get April and Splinter at the beginning, but you unlock Casey in story mode. That's what it is.
So there's more than 6 characters you could play. You can only just have up to 6 players.
Correct. Yes.
Cool.
That's really cool.
I mean, which means if they wanted to, they could have added 3 or 4 more. But whatever.
Right.
Hey, that's what DLC's for. Get ready to spend some more money.
Hey, if they put Metalhead in there, I don't care. I'll pay $5 just to play as Metalhead. I don't care.
I'm the only one who would buy this probably, but I wish they would put out a re-release of the 3 games tied into the 2003 show. They're like Marvel Legend clones, but I had a good time playing those with my brother.
Let's do it.
Back in the day.
Those were loved though.
Okay, cool. I didn't talk to anyone else that likes those games. I thought it was just me and my brother.
Yeah, no, those were really well liked.
They're a lot of fun. It was really cool to see the stuff from the show get expanded.
Was one of those Battle Nexus, or was that a different thing?
I think that's the second one.
Because I have that one. The only reason I bought it, one of those I bought because it had an unlockable version of the original arcade game, and that was the only way you could play it on console for the longest time. That was like just before Xbox 360 had it for download.
Seems like a weird place to put a re-release of that game.
That kind of thing happened a lot. Where
yeah,
it was like,
yeah.
It was like this unlockable thing where you had to get far enough in the game, and I don't think I ever did. I think I played it for a while trying to get it. I never got that far, but like I have the game. I don't think I ever unlocked that.
Time to revisit.
Yeah,
there's no reason to do it now. I own the arcade.
No, I know, but
one-up.
just because you never did, don't leave any stone unturned, Cap.
I have the cabinet.
You need to play every game you own to completion.
Oh,
that seems exceedingly difficult. Actually, now I say that out
loud. No, it would be. That would be the thing that would tank the channel. That's when I never come back again.
That's how you rebrand. Bringing it all back to the beginning of the show.
Yeah, you nailed it, Cap. Team NT2 is Battle Nexus, and Team NT3 is Mutant Nightmare.
You know your stuff.
I didn't even know that because I've never played that. But
there's all of a sudden a gnat
flying
around. I don't know where it came from.
I keep having this on stream, and people go, "What is he doing?" It's like there's a gnat or something. There's like a bug.
Mothclap. We have 2 more super chats. Shall I read them or shall I
have a last call?
Send them home. 3 more.
Oh my god. Okay. All right. Yeah, knock them out. Let's knock them out real quick.
A lot of them are Bob the Hun really trying to convince you to do this Eric thing.
Okay, read them through real quick. I have nothing else to say on that subject.
Okay, Bob the Hun, $5. It can work if you make a finale and let people know he's not coming back.
See, this is what Cap is talking about. This is the self-fulfilling super chat prophecy right here. This is the thing. I think we've exhausted this already.
And then he said another one for $2. I mean, for Patreon, not on the channel publicly.
Yeah, well, thanks for the super chats. I'm not prepared to make a decision on this right now.
But we have heard your case.
Yeah, I shouldn't have even talked about it. I should have just said, I don't know yet, you guys. That's what I should have said.
And then the last one
Instead, I'm wasting all of Dan's time.
is John Ty, $5.
Oh, John Ty.
Are you ever going to do a season overview on Star Trek Strange New Worlds?
Yeah, I've already announced that. Somebody asked me that last week, and yeah, I have every intention of talking about that when it's finished. Just because I've been watching it all, and I have thoughts. So yeah.
So does that factor into what the little bit we talked about earlier, potentially?
I don't know what you're talking about.
When we talked about Star Trek Club, and
What
you know,
about
would we do Strange New Worlds? Would we talk about it? Does that factor into that?
I don't know. He's just asking if I'm going to do an overview when the show's over. That doesn't have anything to do with Star Trek Club.
No, but if we talked about it in Star Trek Club, would it be separate from that?
Yeah, because I'm not bringing back Star Trek Club right now.
Well, of
and
course.
that show has 2 episodes left. So it would just be a regular season overview where I'd come on by myself or with somebody else and we'd talk about that show. Anyway, is that it?
Yeah, that's all I got.
Oh, thank goodness. So let's end the show before somebody puts another super chat. No, we really appreciate you guys. Thanks so much. This was really long. My apologies. Thanks a lot for being here. Dan, I really appreciate you. And I know you're never coming back after this, but it was really nice to have you.
Never again.
It was good to see you, Horsemen of the Geekpocalypse.
Yeah, this is the final appearance of the Four Horsemen altogether.
Yeah, this really is the Geekpocalypse. We're never doing this again.
No, thanks for having me, guys. And yeah, we'll have to do it again soon.
He's just saying that. He's never coming back.
So polite, that guy.
For as many people who say they're never
you
coming
trying-
back and then are on every show.
I'm
after.
trying to get my finger on the screen in your like half of my screen that I have
I
available.
thought you were trying to prove to people that you were good at aiming from what we were talking about
no.
earlier.
I was trying to finger gun you.
Stop finger gunning me.
Sentence.
Let's just make Brandon as uncomfortable as possible outside of After Dark.
It didn't make me uncomfortable so much as this is not After Dark, so don't breach those.
That's Brandon's world. He's not uncomfortable. He loves it.
He loves it.
It's Brandon's domain. After Dark.
What
Anyway,
would that show be?
I don't know if, with respect, I don't know if I'd watch that. That might be,
I don't think you would.
That might be a little much
I don't
for
think
me.
you would. You'd know that I do that, but you'd be like, "That's your
That's
business."
your thing. You can have, and you can't have it on my channel. Like you gotta have your own
No.
channel. It's just Brandon.
Well, you
I
couldn't
can't
upload it to
plug it
YouTube.
in After Dark.
I think we'll call it Brandon is always After Dark. Like
That's a good way to describe my mind.
It's Brandon After Dark, the more fun edition.
Stop edition.
Fun stuff.
How about just Brandon is the Dark? There's no after or before. It's just always Dark.
Well, my
And
last
Brandon
name
was.
is Grimm, so take
That's
it.
good. Can I throw
or
one
leave
more
it.
at you?
Yes.
Brandon turn
Sure.
on the dark.
Oh.
That was the sound. That was the sound of all-encompassing despair. Everybody, thanks again for watching Captain Logan show, whatever the heck this is. I almost said
Without
After
people.
Dark because we were talking about After Dark.
Right.
The Captain
Marathon.
Logan show. We appreciate you guys.
Oh, is that what this
I'm
was?
in. Yeah, it is. Yeah, I was in. Or I'm going to be in Florida all week next week, so no regular programming. It is possible that Jason and I will do what we did when we were in Branson and shoot a couple of random videos live on that trip, but we're going
Sounds
to be
like fun.
a lot busier than we were in Branson, so that may or may not be able to work out. I won't be able to do a rewind that week. I have managed to keep that show going for 9 straight weeks, which I'm really, really excited
Hey.
about.
Wow.
Yeah, thanks.
Can you do a live
Congratulations.
stream with a Florida man? Like the Florida
Oh,
man
man.
of Florida man memes?
I don't know
There's
what I don't know what
so
you're
many
talking
Florida-
about. Sorry.
Oh man, all these headlines that something goes awry, somebody does something stupid, and the article always starts with Florida man eats an alligator for breakfast or something like that, or alligator eats Florida man doing something stupid. Like there's a whole thing. You type Florida man and your birth date, and it'll bring up a story of a Florida man on that day.
That's crazy.
It
Doing
does.
something insane. Yeah.
Yes.
Florida is a
They're
crazy
great.
place.
See, I'm not gonna seek that guy out, but I might have my
You
kid
just
with me.
report on it live from Florida.
Oh, but anyway, I thought about trying to do even a remote rewind on Sunday night, and Jason's got convention stuff even all day that day, so it's not going to work out. So I will be back to regular rewinds again if everything goes according to plan the week after that. I don't even know what movie I'm going to be reviewing yet for that, but this Sunday night, so hopefully I'll have that figured out by this Sunday, and I can announce that. But it will probably be a request now that I'm thinking about it. But anyway, this week on Sunday, I'm going to be tackling Justice League: The Flashpoint Paradox, related to what we were talking about earlier with the Flash movie. But that won the poll this week, and so that's Sunday night. Look forward to it if you want to pop in for that. And in the meantime, we really appreciate you. I was Captain Logan, and we had Brandon Grimm.
We did have me. See, that feels more.
Getting second credit.
We had Dan Torrey.
Thanks for watching, guys. See you next time.
And as always, my wonderful chat moderator and producer, DJ of the Martinezes.
See you guys in 2 weeks.
Bye, folks.